game prices are collapsing. I think I've noticed this too. Remember how everybody was talking a few months ago about how we're going to be thinking, maybe a year ago or so, about how we need to be expecting $70 and now $80 video games to become the norm? We've all been hearing this constantly. Oh, everybody should get used to this. This is how it's going to be. Well, the customer's always right. And they said you're wrong.
I've heard you, and with today's story, it seems the rest of the industry is also beginning to do it. Now, this year started with the fear that gaming was getting more expensive.
Yep.
Microsoft and Nintendo pushed the ceiling to $80. An impossibly high ask, especially
$80 for Mario Kart.
has got more and more pricey. But elsewhere in the industry, something quieter is happening. It's this. The games that you are actually buying, well, you've got the data about them. As it turns out, they're getting cheap. $100 for Grand Theft Auto 6. That was the rumor that kicked off this year's anxiety about game prices. It was one to take two.
I still think it's possible that GTA will be $100. I do. I think it's I think GTA is in its own category of game, though. And I don't think that the way GTA is approached should be looked at as a frame of reference for anything other than GTA.
Happy to downplay, if not outright refute. But with GTA now delayed, we won't know the truth until next autumn. Though we've already seen audiences reject the new price ceiling of $80. Xbox tried to put The Outer Worlds 2 at $80.
How'd that go?
Presumably buying some headroom for Microsoft's lovely 30% profit margin demand.
Wow.
But they quickly reversed that decision. Inference from that? They didn't see enough pre-orders. People essentially voted with their wallet. Just that unlike real
I am so happy this is happening. That people are actually just not buying video games that are ridiculously expensive. And I think the reason, like, there's like 10 probably different reasons why, but I'm glad to see it finally happening. This is a relief.
Oh, it's the great thing.
Good job, boys. Yep. Hold strong.
You don't need to do anything to cast your vote. It turns out audiences...
And I think eventually video game prices will go up because inflation makes everything go up infinitely, right? I mean, when we're old, we're going to think about the good old days when video games were only $100. Like, this is inevitable with inflation. But the rate at which it's happening nowadays is just, it's a little bit too fast. And also, like, whether you want to talk about development costs or anything else, if you can't meet customers where they're at, then your product isn't going to have a market. It's just that simple.
You pay that price for The Outer Worlds too, but you know what they would pay? The regular price. Because selling at a normal price, the game did have a top 10 launch. Though the right product at $80 will sell. Mario Kart World kind of proved that. Even bundled with Switch 2 for many buyers, you don't get a 92% attach rate across 9.57 million copies
a lot of people
without lots of people shelling out the full amount. Of course. That's only one side of the story, because the reality we need to dive into...
Well, it's like the first console game. Like, the Switch 2 doesn't have a lot of games on it that are, like, worth buying a Switch 2 for. Like, unless you want to play Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom at 60 FPS, I don't think that it has, like, a huge audience or a huge offering of games. It's kind of like the PS5. Yeah, it's not a competition. Exactly.
Prices have been plummeting. But there's a not so funny thing hanging over all of this, and it's the simple fact that video game spending is actually falling, but subscriptions are rising. We've seen that in analyst reports, and too often, well, we're paying for subs we don't use. That's why Rocket Money is today's video sponsor.
Oh, good one. Good segue, wow.
Subscriptions and get saving. And you can even get started today for free at rocketmoney.com/valuer. Now, Rocket Money will securely and safely identify recurring charges for you, and then you can cancel them in just a few taps. They've basically put the work in to make that real smooth, so this is a chore.
I've had a few subs that I've forgotten to cancel myself, actually.
Bring off.
I have.
How's the time?
It's quite annoying.
But it's not just that. Rocket Money will also help you with bill negotiation. You simply upload your bill and they'll be able to help you. For a personal example, whenever my internet went to its off-contract price...
With the current model, it's $50, $100. I don't know. I think it's too much. It's way too much. Games are way too expensive.
I was overloaded with paperwork, and I actually did that negotiation late. And by doing it late,
they have to pay more money, right?
A bunch of money.
Yeah, there you go.
So with the likes of
course.
Rocket Money being able to
Big
help,
surprise.
you can actually go and make progress in those things way more easily. And that is the huge value of Rocket Money. They make it all easy. They've cancelled over $500 million of subscriptions. They've helped save customers up to $740.
That's a lot of money.
Using
Wow.
apps, premium features.
Wow.
They have other great tools beyond what I've mentioned, so if you want to spend less and save more, which, you know, sounds pretty good to me, you can join the over 5 million Rocket Money members using rocketmoney.com/valuer just by clicking the link down below. You can
Amazing.
start for free, play around, have some fun, save some money, and then unlock more features with premium, and that's rocketmoney.com/valuer news.
What a
If
nice
you've bought
guy.
a game on Steam in the last
Amazing.
18 months, you probably paid $20 or less. In fact, you've probably been paying less since 2023 than you did from 2020. Now, what are these numbers? Well, these numbers are from the research of Simon Carlos, who runs the excellent Game Discover Pro newsletter. He tracked average and median prices for the top 50 new monthly games on Steam during that period of time, ranked by copy sold, and you're looking at the graphs now. We see a median price as low as $10, as high
Wow.
as $20, with averages between $16 and $29. Shocking.
So, yeah, I mean, prices very clearly have been going down. If you look at this here, it's been going down massively. Like, if you look at, if it's $19 then and it's $14 now, that's a decrease of fucking 25%. That's crazy.
Steam users are
huge
50
amount.
people who like deals. We probably didn't need this much analysis
lot.
to work that out, but that's not where I'm ending. Here's where things get really
Less Steam,
interesting.
exactly.
From February 2023
Okay.
to October 2025, the average amount of money spent on a best-selling game went down by 2%. The median, though, it went down by 20%. That means
Jesus.
that more games are selling at a lower price.
Yep.
And whenever Carlos took a look at the
Easy to
revenue
predict.
line, the trend actually helped. Now, in theory, that should favor more expensive games.
Well, it's also because people don't want to highly invest into one game. And I think that, like, another factor is that a lot of games are, like, really long. And I think that people nowadays are looking for shorter, more bite-sized gaming experiences, just in a general sense. Like, not, for everything, but just overall, I think it's very true. When you get bored of games, yeah, exactly, right? And so, like, if you buy a game for like $20 or $15, then I think that you're less invested in it and worried about playing it all the time and finishing it because you don't have that much money you've spent on it. And so it makes people feel more like better, more better, makes them feel better about spending the money in the first place. I think that's what happens.
Generate more revenue per sale. But even there, the median dropped from $23.75 to $20.35.
And I think another big factor is that there were a lot of AAA games this year that weren't very good. And like that's also a big factor because like if you look at just a handful of those games, they're going to move the price point up a lot. But a lot of the games have been bad.
That's about 14% of a drop.
That
And do
would.
bear in mind that as this has been happening, the currency has been inflating. So even as players feel like they are being pressured towards $80 games, what they're actually buying is getting cheaper and cheaper. And what's key is that this is not showing us what has been offered to players, it's showing us what players have actually chosen. It's showing the best-selling premium games on the platform, and that does feel like a bit of a win, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at that. 20, 10, 70, 60, 10, 70, 25, 15, 20, 7, 70, 75. That's a lot of really cheap games. That's a huge amount of them.
We are seeing smaller teams with cheaper games beginning to dominate the sales space. That says a lot for the value of Steam, and in a world where people would have to compare the price of a full console plus a subscription for multiplayer and more expensive games, and weigh that up to a Steam machine with generally far cheaper games, well, I think it also makes the Steam machine look stronger as well. Overall, though, it's somewhat validating an argument you see all the time, right? The argument people make every time someone suggests an $80 price point, which is that you make your profit in aggregate. So make your games cheaper, and then more people will buy it. Buying four $20 indie games is to many people better than one $80 AAA game.
Well, I mean, the best proof of this isn't even that. It's the fucking free-to-play games. Like, all of these free-to-play games are cheap. Like, they're super cheap to play. They're free. But the difference is that they make their money with microtransactions. And that's what I think you're going to see more games doing, is that creating a lower entry point, but then having things inside of microtransactions in general. Because, like, really asking somebody to spend $70 and they don't even necessarily know whether they like something or not, that's pretty hard to ask somebody to do.
Surely that's what's going on. Surely that's what everyone is doing. Yeah. Ish. Let's look more into it.
Surely.
Carlos gave us the perfect example. It's the September releases on Steam, where Silk Song sold like gangbusters at $20, with 4.6 million copies shifted.
It was insane.
Alone. That's nearly double the sales of a full-price title like Borderlands 4. The immediate takeaway is a lower barrier to entry at the price of a couple of coffees, meaning you give yourself the widest possible audience.
Well, it's also like somebody sees Silk Song is really popular, and they look at it and they're like, oh, it's only like $20? Okay, yeah, I'll try it out. But like if they see a game and they see it's doing kind of well, or even really popular, and they see it's $70, like a $70 purchase is a big decision for a lot of people. A $20 purchase isn't quite as much. And so whenever you're dealing with those big numbers, and like you know this if you're broke, that it's easy to get $20 and it's impossible to get 100. Because like by the time you get to 100, something will have happened that you've needed to spend your money that now you're back down to zero. I think that's what happens.
And in theory, that also means that more people can buy more games. But it's actually not quite that simple. You see, regardless of price, the majority of game players don't actually buy that many games. Circana's Future of Games report surveyed 2,500 US players on self-reported purchase patterns. About a third of the market says they buy just one game or fewer a year. Just two-thirds, 63%, buy fewer than 2 games a year. That is
I wonder how does, I wonder like about free-to-play games, how does that factor into it?
absolutely insane to me, but...
Yeah, it's nuts. Like Fortnite, Roblox, stuff like that. Because those are the most popular video games, right? Like a lot of the most popular video games in the world right now are free, and like some people are mono gamers for these free games, so it's hard to say.
When we do the same, we probably have a sampling bias, one that is in and around enthusiast gamers.
Yeah, sure.
We do buy more games. It seems that with broader audiences, that is less the case.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's Circana doing a survey of 2,500 people in the US. It's good enough work. It's hypothesis-generating work. But obviously, it is just a survey.
Sure.
So I would say that
We get more picky as the price goes up?
Overall,
Yeah.
a lot of it is plausible. You see, a lot of people are only interested in buying this year's sport game or this year's Call of Duty. Or maybe this year's Call of Duty. Maybe they bought Battlefield instead. But the majority of any product
Accurate,
in this
apparently.
industry is often people who are gently engaged in it, not people, perhaps, like you and me. But it's actually the top of the chart that complicates things here. Because those people probably aren't the ones buying indie games for $20 en masse. No, that's the other 37% of people, but even that 37% is quite stratified. 22% say they buy a game every 3 months. That's 4 games a year, and
that's a pretty good amount. Yeah.
Yes, Valve's own data suggests
That's a lot.
that users played only 4 games on Steam on average in 2023 and 2024.
I feel like that's not a big surprise. Like, a lot of my friends probably play about that many too, like, you know, plus minus 1, I'd say. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people aren't going around playing constantly a bunch of games. And also, like, there's been a trend where more and more people play one singular big game all the time. And I think that's what's been happening a lot. Is that like people get invested, like the same as like people, there are people that are not gamers, but they play World of Warcraft every single day, all day, and they've been doing that for the last 10 years. I used to be one of them. So really, I think it's extremely common to see people that are only playing a handful of games because they're already invested into one singular game.
Further 10% buy a new game monthly, which is, of course,
a new game a
industry
month.
releasing thousands of games a year.
That's a lot of
Put
games.
this in perspective. If you bought Silk Song and any other game in September, 2 games in 1 month, then you are only 4% of the game's market.
Wow.
It's kind of wild. And even if we're allowed to some swing and fuzziness because a survey is only as good as the survey, the
Probably
point, I think,
8%
still
most,
goes
right? Yeah.
And of course, it's a point that we do see in a
Huge
lot of other
minority.
things as well. Take Rail, right? Rolling and free-to-play games where the majority of the revenue does come from a very small strap.
I actually haven't seen this menu in so long because I haven't played Star Rail since Pinnacle. That Like, I haven't even thought about this. I really haven't. I haven't thought about this in a while.
Of that game's players. And when you see data like that, I think we begin to understand, like, these publishers and indie devs moved their releases away from Silksong, or of course, away from GTA 6. And in the case of the indies, well, especially...
Is he just throwing shit at him?
The same price point or cheaper than Silksong. So if you're releasing against Silksong, a game with massive cut-through to enthusiast audiences, if you're releasing against that, then, well, you're betting on the 4% of the market turning up that does actually buy multiple games a month. That doesn't really seem...
Do you remember all the developers that were mad at Silksong for releasing their game? They were like, you can't just release the game whenever you want. You have to tell us when it's going to come out. You can't just release it right now. Well, what about our game? Jesus Christ.
Does it? And here's the kicker. What if I told you there's another layer? You see, this chart does not distinguish between new games and already released games that are on sale. Every time someone buys a game that's been out for 6 months, they're probably not buying a new game that month to go along with it, regardless of price. So, more people aren't buying games, even as prices keep trending down. Now, if that
because they don't need to. That's the reason. Like, you go and you look, right? This shit's free. You just play it. You just log on and play the game. That's it. That's crazy. So why does somebody need to go and spend all this money to play a game if you could just play a game for free?
Case, as a bunch of this data suggests.
That's a lot.
Well, why then are audiences feeling like they are constantly being asked for more and more? When people are asked to pay $80 or $70 for a video game, Nintendo, Microsoft, or Sony are basically banking on a fairly simple principle, that the people who actually have money will spend it regardless of anything else that's going on.
Sure.
Essentially, they're betting on it being a premium product with inflexible demand. That is why marketing teams target those people. That's why those absurd collector's editions exist, right? The people who absolutely...
That's for whales. Like $109 for a collector's edition of a game? That's insane.
Of games.
It's ridiculous.
They're the people these companies can count on. The games industry basically thrives in people who can spend without thinking about it.
How about the console players? They're ostracizing half of the gaming community when you determine if a game is good or not based on how it does on Steam. I think that a slice of apple pie is still indicative of the fact that it came from an apple pie. So when you take a representative sample from a group of people, then that representative sample is being used to create a larger trend. So are there going to be games that are more popular on console than PC and vice versa? Sure, of course. But I think the general trend is that if a video game is like doing very well on console, it's probably also doing very well on PC. And if it's doing well on PC, it's probably also doing well on console. Like I've never really heard of a game that's like a massive failure on one console, on one thing, but it's like really, it's doing great on another. Generally, and this is especially true for trend graphs, right? So like the numbers might be wildly different. Like for example, Call of Duty is much more popular on console, for example, or FIFA. FIFA's another good example. But I bet the player base for FIFA and the people that are regularly playing FIFA, like let's say on console it started at 1 million and on PC it started at 100,000. I would expect that by the middle of the year, theoretically, if console went down to 500,000, then PC would also go down to 50,000 respectively. And I think that's generally what you can do. So a representative sample is not a numerical guide, but it should be used as an inference point to decide where the data is going. Does that make sense?
Which has always been the case. Buying more than one $60 game at launch has been unaffordable.
For trends? Yeah, for trends.
The problem is the proportion of people with money to spend freely actually does appear to be shrinking. Get this, as of September...
No way! We've never been to the store before!
The top 10% of earners accounted for 50% of U.S. retail sales. In the very same year, spend...
Oh my god. Top 10... That's... I've never heard of this statistic. Top 10% of earners drive a growing share of consumer spending? Wow. That's nuts.
here, spending in games is actually down. The 18 to 25 age group in the US is spending nearly a quarter less in games.
Yep.
And everyone, just
that's a lot less than I expected.
Down a couple of percent.
God damn.
But on the whole, most game spending is only a few points down. Now, given we're in rough economic times, that could seem like a good thing, right? Oh, the world is experiencing troubles, but games are only down in most categories by a few percent. What if I told you it's actually worse than that? You see, the difference that's being made up, right? What's made this only a few points down? Well, it's basically subscriptions making up the difference, because those have grown all year. But that comes from the...
That's why everybody's doing subscription services, is that everybody complains about it, but they still buy them. That's the problem. They still buy them, even if they complain. Do you think economies will improve or die more? I think the economy will increasingly become more polarized, where people that don't have a lot of money will continue to have an increasingly less amount of money, and people that do have more money will increasingly generate more money and more wealth. I think that's very clearly where things are going. This is not a five-head prediction. This is a middle of the bingo free square prediction. You can just watch the trend. It's been happening for the last 50 years.
Bottom of the spending population, not the top, right?
That's where we're at. This is why I put my daughter on OnlyFans.
Limited dollars.
That's great.
Also spending less and less.
Good for you.
Games. And I think that is the big tension people are feeling. We're in a situation where game marketing and traditional big games are basically out of reach to most of the audience, more so than perhaps ever in recent memory. But the companies haven't changed how they talk to players as a whole. A lot of the market has changed underneath those companies, but it's not really like it seems they've really changed their plans to match. And that is leading to people feeling ignored. It's leading to people facing demands that they cannot meet.
$70
the companies
Mario
that
Kart
used to be targeting them are now not targeting them. They are targeting someone with more disposable income.
That's right. That's what happens with free-to-play games. This is why every free-to-play game ends up catering to whales. Is because imagine you don't vote, but somebody else votes $5,000 a year. That's a lot of votes. And that's exactly what happens. Why would you pay $70 for a game just to get disappointed when you can buy 4 to 7 indie games for that money? Exactly, yeah. It's a huge amount of money. $80 for a digital copy of a video game that's not even a collector's edition. I'm sorry, but like, yeah, you're gonna have some people that are in that top 10% of income. Like, I would say that the top 30% of people in America can afford something like that without it being really, a very high friction transaction. But I would say that maybe 50% of people, and this is in America, right? This is one of the richest countries in the world. Think about what it's like everywhere else in the world. So when you're selling a video game and you're only able to monetize 30% of the most developed countries in the world, well, you're going to have a hard time making a lot of money.
And that's a tough
It's just the way it is.
But by contrast, the $20 games in Steam are changing. Individual indie developers are watching game prices creep lower and lower. And they're just hoping that they will get enough sales to succeed, because they cannot afford to price higher and risk further growth.
True.
Now, we're not quite in the mobile game space, where developers basically can't afford to price games as premium products.
They can't at all.
But we are seeing a shift in how games are sold. And what that may lead to may not be great for all of us. Because if you can't ask players for more than $25 without facing comparisons to Silksong, then you may start having to scope your development very differently indeed.
That's where they're going to use AI. That's why they're going to use it. It's to save costs.
And that means that some traditional games simply would be out of reach. It could also mean that
if you can't go to market with a viable consumer product, then you don't deserve to be in the market. That's the way it is. That's life. You don't like it? You think it sucks? It's not fair? Let's say you're right about everything. You still go out of business.
Do feel more and more. So, it's not all doom and gloom. It actually seems there's a lot of vibrancy in the indie scene.
I think that video gaming right now is better than it's ever been. I will say that. I think it's not even close.
Seeing is a changing market, changing behaviors, and
it's a lot better.
That is struggling to keep up pace with that change. So no wonder they're out of touch. And speaking of out of touch, Bungie. That's certainly something a lot of people would say about them. And
not so good, huh?
So rosy news. Basically, a big write-off at the same time that they kind of admitted they shattered that.
Yes.
If you want to learn about that, watch this video next.
Man, I do feel like this is a good video, and I'm very glad to see that game prices are going down. Like, I was actually pretty worried that this wasn't what was going to happen. But if I look at this graph, right, I mean, this is a crazy decline in price for video games, and I hope that it continues, right? Now, I think that paying 50, 60 bucks for a game, that's fine if it's a fully AAA game, and even $70. Like, I mean, realistically, would I pay? So let me give the video a like. It's a Bellier video. I liked it a lot, and I always love graphs like this that really kind of show what people are doing. Bungie's gay? Is Bungie gay? I think they could be. And I only buy games on sale. Yeah, I think a lot of people do. But hardware prices are going up. How can I play cheap games? Well, you've got to buy consoles, right? And this is what's going to happen, is that console prices are a lot more stable than the price of PCs, because PCs have granular costs, right? Or aggregate costs. So you have like the cost of, you know, right now the RAM, which is really expensive, and then the power supply, and then the motherboard. And so if one of those goes up, it's going to raise the price of everything. But whenever you're making a console, the console's price is pretty much fixed. So in some cases, that's a good thing. In other cases, it's a bad thing. But I think that in general, it just depends on what you want to do. So that's what I would say more than anything. There's no RAM in my PS5. Well, the way that like PS5s and like consoles don't go up and down in price based off of individual computer component pricing. That just doesn't happen. And I think that if it did happen, it would be suicide for that company. And so that's the point that I'm making about it. Like, yes, very obviously, you know, RAM does go up and down, and it is in consoles, but it's not treated as this, you know, again, aggregate asset that's factored into the price of the console dynamically. And so that's the difference. Retard chatter, yeah, of course. So like Xbox, tell it to Xbox. Well, I know that they increased the prices because of tariffs, right? But that's something that's very specific, and I wouldn't really expect that to be the norm. So yeah, that's at least what I'm thinking about it, what I think is going to happen.
Watch the internet's most mysterious websites. Number 1, your mom.
The internet has billions of websites. Some leave you with a lot of questions. They contain secret codes, strange countdowns, creepy recordings, and more. Today we'll explore the internet's most mysterious websites, starting from the least to the most disturbing. So my goal this year, guys, is to increase our uploads without sacrificing quality. And to do that, we gotta keep it would mean the world to me if you subscribe. And I promise to do my very best for you guys and make the best videos I possibly can on Visual Venture. And you, my friend, are awesome. LakeCityQuietPills.com.
Whoa.
LakeCityQuietPills.com sounds like a pharmacy website, but it wasn't selling medicine. In fact, people believe this website was a place where hitmen received instructions on who to
Whoa, and this isn't even number 1?
target. The site belonged to a Reddit user known as Milo. Milo claimed he was a 79-year-old military vet. Most of his Reddit posts were about weapons, explosives, and
Reddit alert.
combat. Then in May 2009, he made a post promoting his new website, LakeCityQuietPills.com. He described it as an image hosting site. At first, no one cared, but years later, someone finally looked closer. A Redditor clicked the link and noticed something strange. He warned others. Remember that old guy's image host? Go to the root of the site and view source. People did exactly that. When they checked the site's code, they discovered cryptic messages hidden between the lines of code. They looked like job postings. One read, immediate need, 8 to 10 Chinese or Korean.
Chinese, Korean, what? Dude, if I saw this, like, I figured it out, I'd be so scared. What do you mean?
fluent Korean dialect or accent. Details after contract. Another said for Italian or Spanish speakers. No Euro W/W. Must be bondable. Reddit
What
loved
the hell is bondable? Like bondageable?
it's a mystery. So users started analyzing every line,
This is
trying to
scary.
figure out what it meant. And the more they read, the darker it seemed. These didn't look like normal jobs. They looked like requests for assassins. It was a wild theory, but here's why people believed it. The site
Korean
was called
assassins.
Lake City Quiet Pills. There's a real factory in Missouri called Lake City. It's an ammunition plant that manufactures bullets for
Oh,
the
the
U.S.
perfect
military. Some people
crime!
thought Quiet Pills was code for bullets, because a bullet is like a pill that makes someone quiet forever. They-
Wait, that's actually the perfect place because manufacturers, you can't trace who bought the bullet. You get it straight from the factory. That's clever. Wow.
also interpreted the job listings. W/W in the messages likely meant wet work. And wet work could be
Wet
slang
work.
for assassination. More people shared ideas on what the other abbreviations could mean. Piece by
Navy
piece, the theory
SEALs.
took shape. Redditors became convinced this was a secret job board for hitmen. It seemed like a stretch. Then something happened that made the theory feel more credible. On January 19th, 2010, a military
real
leader
hit.
was assassinated in Dubai. Around the same time, Redditors found a new message on the website. It read, "Happy New Year, everyone. We're having a birthday party for the old man on the 19th. Party starts at 1500 at the usual."
Nobody says 1500 unless they're in the military. They say 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. Only military people say that. Yeah, like, yeah, ex-military or current, whatever. Like, they always say that shit.
Send your RSVP to Shade. FYI, we're booking a room for 3 days for anyone coming from out of area, and overnight for locals. Come hoist one for Dutch Milo. The date of this party matched the exact day of the hit. The same message also mentioned booking a hotel for 3 days. Interestingly, the military leader was unalived at a hotel. One report described it like this.
A group of assassins tracked the Hamas leader to his room, waited for him to leave to go shopping, snuck into his room and gained access somehow, and waited for the guy to come back, and lastly, took him out.
For Reddit's detectives,
him
this was
out,
no
Chad.
coincidence. Weeks later, another message appeared on the site. It showed the final costs for the party that took place on January 19th.
You people say it's always a 1500. No, like using 1500 or 1700, that's a very military thing because that's like military time.
Hotel rooms, limo, bus, food, med supplies. They spent nearly $50,000 on hotel rooms for a birthday. For Reddit users, the number looked like a payment for something much darker. As more people investigated, the site began to change. The once readable messages on the site were scrambled into random numbers and letters. And by 2014, LakeCityQuietPills.com went offline completely. Was it really a hitman job board,
FBI.
or was it just a prank? To this day, no one knows for sure. This next website tried to change how we understand the world. Timecube.com. Timecube.com was created to reveal a big secret to the world. The website belonged to a retired electrician named Gene Ray, and Ray believed he uncovered a cosmic secret. According to him,
I need to make a website and say I found a cosmic secret and everybody has to watch my stream. Do you think I'd get more viewers out of it? Schizo viewers?
a single day wasn't really 24 hours. Each day was actually 4 separate days happening at once. It's confusing, I know. Ray stated his theory boldly on the site. He called it nature's harmonic simultaneous 4-day time cube. Ray even called himself the
Wait, I know about this guy. I've watched a lot of conspiracy videos.
wisest man on earth. He was so confident that he offered $1,000 to anyone who can disprove 4 days in each Earth rotation.
And then you say, yes, you've disproved me, but I don't like that. I've seen this so many times.
Later, he raised the price to $10,000.
Wow.
His website was packed with strange diagrams about 4-corner races, something he called cubic thinking. It looked like the ramblings of a delusional old Nicole.
It's a 634.
Oh shit, where was I? Fuck, I moved my finger. Sorry about that.
Looked like the ramblings of a
I moved my
delusional
finger
old man. But not
onto it.
everyone ignored him. In fact, students at MIT invited him to speak. In 2002, Ray showed up at MIT to present his theory of time. Hundreds showed up, but they weren't there to learn. They treated the lecture like a comedy show.
Throughout the event, the crowd of college students was rowdy and loud,
Uh-oh.
cheering often in mock support of Ray.
However, Ray didn't realize they were mocking him. When asked about the experience later, he bragged.
About 500 students from MIT, Harvard, and many other universities around now, and they treat me like Einstein now.
Afterward, he even awarded himself a doctorate of cubism and started calling himself Dr. Gene Ray. Most people
Doctorate of cubism. I'm the doctor of smuggleonism.
treated Ray as a joke, but to one man,
I'm a
Gene Ray
doctor.
was a genius. Around 2005, an 18-year-old student named Richard discovered TimeCube.com. He quickly became Gene Ray's most devoted supporter.
Hi, I'm Richard Yanchowski, second wisest human. However, it is Dr. Gene Ray, cubic, who is the wisest human on Earth.
For 2 years, Richard
This is
defended
Oshi.
Ray's theory
His
of time.
commie
In fact, he
Oshi, Jet.
idolized Ray. Then in 2007, Richard bought a plane ticket to Florida to meet his hero. He planned to film a documentary about Ray and his ideas. At first, everything went well. The 2 days they spent together, they talked about TimeCube.com. Then they had a misunderstanding. Ray got really mad at Richard. So mad that he publicly denounced him on Ray's website. For Richard, the
schizos
rejection
meeting
was
up.
devastating. After years of loyalty, his idol turned against him. Richard never really got over it. Watching their story, you realize how much time Richard and Ray spent on theories that made no sense.
That's
Richard could have spent those same hours learning about actual history instead of
Never meet your heroes, chat. Never meet your Oshis.
imaginary time cubes, which is exactly what this video game offers. War Thunder, the sponsor of this video, is the most comprehensive
War
vehicle
Thunder.
combat game ever made. It's an MMO featuring over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships, from armored cars of the 1920s to modern fighter jets and tanks. The vehicles are very well detailed and the graphics are super realistic. Something that's really different about this game is its damage mode. If your vehicle or enemy is destroyed, you see this X-ray view where you can see exactly where the shell penetrated and which components are affected, which is honestly something I have never seen before. War Thunder has 3 modes. You have Arcade, which is for fast-paced matches, Realistic mode, which is a bit more realistic. Then you have the mode that is the most authentic to real life, Simulator mode. My friends, join the community of over 95 million players for PvP battles today. And for you military history enthusiasts, this game is made for you. Play War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile now by using my link in the pinned comment or description. New and returning players that haven't played in 6 months get a
My brother
massive
played
bonus
World of
pack that
Tanks, not
includes
War
the
Thunder.
Eagle of Valor, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of premium account only for a limited time. This next website was so mysterious that hackers tried to break into it. Mortis.com. Most websites want visitors. Mortis.com was the opposite. The homepage was plain, just a black screen with one word in white text, Mortis. Mortis means death in Latin. Why would anyone name their website Death? There's also a login box asking for a username and password, but how could anyone sign in if they didn't have an account? And there was no sign up button, no create account link, no way in at all. It was like a locked door with no keyhole. For years, the website just sat there. No updates, no changes, no sign of activity. And then in 2011,
Someone's
someone
gonna figure
finally
it out.
mentioned it on 4chan. Did anyone ever get into
Weaponized autism alert.
Mortis.com? That
Let's
one
go.
question that made the site go viral. 4chaners love puzzles, and this one quickly became an obsession. First, hackers tried breaking into Mortis.com. They couldn't. Then they examined the website's source code. What they found was shocking.
Some of the individual files were as large as 39 gigabytes.
What?
And the total amount of data being hosted on the website was in the range of terabytes.
I hope it's not what I think it is.
No one could figure out why a website with no public features was
Terabytes of
storing
what?
that much data. What was Mortis.com hiding? People tried everything to break it, even brute force applications. But the site was extremely hard to hack into, so they turned to domain records, searching for whoever registered the site. That's when they discovered a name.
A string of clues led some users to assume that the domain was registered under the name Thomas Ling on the 14th of November, 1997.
Wow, it's
They
been
began
around for that
digging
long?
into Thomas Ling, hoping to find new ways to unlock the website. But no matter where they looked, the trail went nowhere.
More leads on the Thomas Ling name would lead to empty warehouses in remote regions across the globe.
The
That's
mystery
freaky.
seemed unsolvable. Then suddenly Thomas Ling himself showed up, and he was mad. Thomas found one of the chat rooms talking about
Why
Mortis.
is he mad?
And he told everyone to leave him and his site alone.
He allegedly demanded that they
Posts a public website for people to access and then getting mad when people use it. That's some backwards ass fucking stupidity.
Users stopped trying to hack his website, and when pushed for an explanation on Mortis.com, claimed that the website was only used to host his wedding photos online.
Terabytes of photos, brother.
No one believed he was the real Thomas Ling. To prove he was really the man behind the site, Thomas briefly changed the homepage of Mortis.com. Then, just as quickly, he switched it back. That confirmed he was the owner, but it did nothing to explain the massive files or the mystery behind the site. Then, in January 2025, someone figured it out. A Reddit post titled "The Mystery of the Website Mortis.com is Solved" revealed what is really behind the login screen. Mortis.com was a private server for storing pirated movies and large files shared within a small group. The post even included screenshots showing downloads coming directly from the site. After 15 years of theories,
thank God it's innocent, man.
truth was disappointingly simple. Mortis.com wasn't a dark conspiracy. It was just a place where a guy shared movies with his friends.
Honestly based. That's based.
Next website can be summed up in 3 words: a huge disappointment. Zombo.com. Zombo.com's webpage was strange. It had a green background with spinning circles. But the weirdest part was the audio that played in the background.
You can do anything at Zombo.com. Anything at all. The only limit is yourself.
It sounded inspiring, like something incredible was about to happen. Nothing ever did. The voice just repeated the same lines over and over. There were no links, no games, nothing to download. People thought the site was broken. One visitor said they waited for 5 minutes for something to happen, but the site never changed. Then someone noticed a newsletter sign-up link at the bottom.
Yo, Zykai, what up? Thank you so much for the raid. How are you doing? We're watching a video on freaky websites. This one is Zombo.com. Apparently my chat knows about it, dude. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. How is this doing? Hold on. What are you doing? Click you. Where are you? You didn't say anything. Damn it. Well, anyway, thank you so much for joining us. What the fuck is Zombo? Oh, it's just a website. I hope you had fun. You're playing Mortuary Assistant, dude. Last time I played that, I shat myself. I'm not even joking. But anyway, I hope you had a great stream. Thank you so much. I never want to play that game again. Yeah, I've never played it since. I don't blame you at all.
Bottom of the page. Finally, something to interact with, but they were about to be disappointed. Clicking the link led to a new page with a single line of text. Sorry, this is not working right now. Thanks for your patience. Users realized the site wasn't broken. It was built this way on purpose. So the question became, who created Zombo.com and why? In 2009, people online started digging into the site's history. The first clue came from the site's records.
When looking at the Whois record for Zombo.com, we can see someone by the name of Joshua Levine as the domain register.
Now they had a name, Joshua Levine. The record even listed an address. But when people looked it up, it led to an empty bench in a little piece of grass in the middle of some tiny little town. The phone number listed under the address was no better. Every call ended with the line disconnected. The only meaningful clue came from an email Joshua Levine sent in 2001. In it, he explained that a friend of his used the word Zombo to refer to a male zombie. So he used it as the name of the site, but that still didn't explain the point of Zombo.com. Over the years, theories piled up. One person said, I think Zombo.com paraphrases the internet, promises you the earth, but delivers a bit of animation. Another called the site useless because it doesn't do anything except tell you how wonderful it is. Zombo.com is still online today. The circles still spin. The voice still promises you limitless possibilities. It's just a wonderful place where nothing ever happens. If you love conspiracy theories, you'll love this next website.
It still exists! You can go to Zombo.com right now! That's freaky, man.
Sentimentalcorp.org. In 2012, a man named Randy Prozac launched a website called sentimentalcorp.org. The homepage showed a couple sitting on a couch watching TV. On the screen, the word nothing glowed faintly. But the site was anything but nothing. According to Randy, the videos on his site contained sounds that could control minds. To understand why he believed that, you first have to know who Randy was. Before
I already do that every day. I turn on stream and I mind control a bunch of chatters.
Corp, Randy worked with mental health patients in Alberta, Canada. These were people with serious psychological issues. His goal was to find a new way to treat them. That's when he began testing a form of therapy called psychodrama. 3 times a week, Randy invited patients into his home. Behind closed doors, they acted out their deepest fears and darkest impulses like actors on a stage. Randy filmed every session. Soon he had hundreds of hours of disturbing footage. But the sessions got more intense than anyone expected. Sometimes it ended in tears, sometimes it ended in anger. A few times it ended in violence. Eventually, the program collapsed. Authorities ordered all of Randy's tapes destroyed. But Randy reportedly smuggled out the recordings before they could be burned. Those tapes became the foundation of sentimentalcorp.org. By July 2012, Randy launched his website and began uploading footage from the psychodrama sessions. He added a chilling disclaimer.
By playing this psychological audio cassette, you'll be exposed to mind control technology that may cause permanent destruction of cognitive personality.
Quality audio rape cassette. Okay, I just sat down, but okay.
But instead of scaring people off, the warning only drew in more. There were videos with hypnotic sounds and flashing images. Visitors described the content as haunting and addictive. Some said they felt dizzy after watching. Even Randy himself admitted that you would have to be a sort of a magician to navigate the site. Over time, thousands of people stumbled across Sentimental Corp. Online forums filled with theories about the tapes, their purpose, and Randy's claims of mind control. The site still exists today, but many of the psychodrama clips have vanished. No one knows whether Randy removed them himself or something else happened. This next website was one big countdown. October 28, 2011.com.
I know
October
about this
28,
one.
2011.com first appeared in July 2011. The homepage had a heading that read, Deja Vu in your dreams. Beneath it was an illustration of a cat. But what really grabbed people's attention was a giant countdown timer. It was set to end on October 28, 2011.
That's when
no one
we
knew
all
what would
died.
happen when the timer hit 0 in October 2011, but they were determined to figure it out. The theory started
I think it got kind of overshadowed by 2012. Like the Mayan calendar ending.
in, especially on Reddit. Some believe the date marked the end of the world. Others tied it to a religious prophecy. Some felt it was part of a marketing stunt. The theories varied, but everyone agreed something big was coming on October 28th, 2011. But there was something else on the website. Near the bottom of the homepage was a phone number. It wasn't clear whether this number was there from the start or if it was added later. Beside it was a cryptic line. Speak to open when it's time. Naturally, people started calling. What they reported back was disturbing. One caller described his experience. Someone answered within 5 rings. No hello, nothing. Just some movement and then a loud beep. And then the person hung up.
What if it's just a random guy's phone number?
Other reported hearing something being dragged across the floor, followed by a loud beep. When they called again, someone picked up and whispered, "It's him again." Almost everyone who tried the number described something unsettling. As October 28, 2011 drew closer, anticipation was building. The countdown was almost at 0, and the people couldn't wait to see what would happen. The day finally arrived, and something did happen.
But when October 28, 2011 finally came and the countdown hit 0, the site completely vanished, leaving people to this day in utter confusion.
The absolute rage bait.
The site went offline just like that. Even after the site disappeared, people kept trying to decode the mystery.
The website went offline many years ago, and thus people have been left in the dark about whether or not this actually had any real purpose.
Years later, a blogger wrote an article titled, "I think I solved the mystery behind October 28, 2011.
Oh yeah? You
The
think so?
explanation was underwhelming. He claimed the website was just made to freak people out. And
I miss when people used to do like trolling on the internet. Not like Twitter rage baiting to farm like money off of like Twitter check marks, like actually doing it for the love of the game. This guy didn't get paid to do it. If anything, it cost him money. It cost him money to maintain the website for that long. It's not cheap.
calls were clearly recordings meant to mess with people's heads. Today, typing in October 28, 2011.com just redirects you to random hacks. Up next is another website that made 0 cents. Enrix.angelfire.com. Enrix.angelfire.com described a disease called Enrix. It said Enrix is a disease that can be devastating to an individual and their family members. The site also mentioned another term, Gomex. Gomex is a medical term that's often used by patients suffering from Enrix. But when people Google these diseases, nothing came up.
Enrix and Gomex don't seem to exist. I tried Google searching for these diseases, and I can't find anything about them.
This meant someone built an entire medical website about illnesses that didn't
Honestly,
exist.
kind of
The fake
based.
diseases weren't the
When
street.
I was a kid, I really wanted my own website, but obviously it costs too much money for a kid to like have money to host a website. I kind of knew how to. I knew how to code a little bit, like very basic, and I thought it would be cool to like prank people. So I get it. It's
The real
just
mystery
freaky.
was the woman's picture.
Messing
On
with
the
people's
homepage was a photo
minds.
of a smiling woman dressed like a doctor. Clicking on her face did something strange.
If you click on the picture of the woman, then the face will become slightly distorted. Continue clicking, and it will continue to become even more distorted as all the text on the screen becomes malformed.
With every click, the photo warped further. It looked like the site was falling apart in real time.
Right there, that was Ty, wasn't it?
By the fifth click, a creepy smiley face appeared along with a message. Please wake up and thank you for visiting our website. It felt
That's
less like a glitch and more like a warning to stop exploring. But that was just the beginning. When people checked out the other
Dude, this is where copy pastas, like creepy pastas, came from. It's so good.
pages, they found weird stuff. One page had a large blue key. Clicking it only sent you back to the homepage. There was also a link to a PDF file buried in the code.
It's a 634-page PDF document,
Let's tie
all
it
written
in.
in Thai with cartoon characters at some points. Apparently, this PDF file is about a mental health hotline clinic that doesn't actually exist.
Then came the strangest clue.
Dude, I'm just telling you, man, this kid had so much fun freaking people out.
A
This
hidden
used to be
message
about
that
it.
read, "The dream is ending, Tyler." Who's Tyler? And why was his name buried in scrambled text? Visitors also found this video hidden on the site. When they pressed play, they saw a woman glitching while reciting numbers. The deeper people dug, the less sense it made. In 2018, a Twitter user named Freebands admitted he
They don't make shit like this anymore. They really don't.
created the site. According to him, the entire thing was a prank. He made the site to troll and creep out his friend as an inside
That's
joke.
awesome.
Every part of the site, including
Imagine your friend went through that much effort, made like a fake YouTube video. Yeah, and then put your name into the freaky ass code. Yeah, I think that's so funny,
the
dude.
fake diseases, glitching images, and Tyler messages was a massive troll.
is
Today,
friend
the original
Tyler.
site is gone, but mirrors of it still exist, keeping a strange prank alive. This next mysterious website spelled its own name backward. 973 at namu973.com.
The human?
You've probably seen strange website names before, but this website name is on another level. The name itself is a puzzle. When read backwards, it spells the human, and that's where the mystery begins. The homepage greets visitors with the words "Amaze in Abracadabra." The other pages on the site don't make things clearer. They're pages with strange symbols. Another page displays religious
Wait, I think I've seen this before. Dude, that's freaky. I just had like a, you know, like light moment from Death Note. That's freaky. I think I've seen this before.
passages mixed with numbers and calculations. Keep clicking and you'll stumble upon disturbing artwork like this. The site reportedly contains more than 9,000 pages. But no one could explain why.
I think one of my friends brought this website up and we were just like clicking it around.
it even existed. So the internet began to
brain blast,
investigate,
yeah.
and soon they found out who made this website. This website was created by a man named David Dennison. David used to be famous.
In the 1970s, Dennison was one of the most popular surrealist painters in the United Kingdom.
After his art career, David became obsessed with numbers and religion. This obsession, people said, completely took over his being. He spent his days working through calculations.
I forget what the movie that's based on, like, the number files and stuff. I forget what it's called. Like, it's some sort of, like, thriller.
It's based on strange words and text. Many were taken from the Bible and ancient philosophers. He was even obsessed with the number 9 and spelling words backwards. In 2003, David launched his ultimate creation, 973 at namu973.com. For years, he kept adding new pages to the website. More puzzles, more religious texts, more confusing math. In 2013, David Dennison passed away, but the website stayed alive. Before he passed, David handed control of the site to someone else. No one knows who. Under this mystery caretaker, the site grew even faster.
Dude, I wonder if he, like, 6'7".
Thousands of new pages appeared. Soon, a small but obsessive community formed around the site. There was even an online chat room where people tried to decode the meaning behind the weird pictures, codes, and calculations on the site. And one day, someone figured it out. On August 3rd, 2018, a user named White Rabbit posted in the chat room. The post was titled, "I finally solved it." He said he spent at least 5 years studying the website, and that it took him a lot of hours to guide himself through the maze. But after all the work, White Rabbit claimed he finally understood the puzzles on the site, but he wouldn't reveal the answer. Why? He said what he discovered was dangerous, and that decoding it had strange side effects on his mind. Other users.
No, he's gonna fucking take over and make his own website, then the cycle repeats itself. I don't know, man. I think it's fascinating, but I also think it kind of induces like schizophrenia in a lot of people. Yeah, I'm no psychologist, but like when you interact with stuff like this and you start convincing yourself that it's like part of your life, and yeah, it can be bad. I think I can see that. I've talked to people who like are actually schizophrenic, and they tell you to like avoid getting into like the grand delusions of like the things that they obsess over.
Begged him to explain. He never responded. 7 years later, someone else in the chat room named Sherlock announced his own breakthrough. I finally understand it. The answer is not what I expected.
But they won't
like
say
White
it.
Rabbit, Sherlock refused to share his solution. He insisted that everyone must find it on their own. But
yeah, just find it on your own, bro.
Didn't give him a clue. The answer isn't written directly on the website itself, but rather written through letters, numbers, and representations. From there, people got more obsessed with the site. One visitor described the site this way: it's like a drug. Once you solve one part, your brain tells you to keep going. Some people I've been chatting with have lost touch with reality. Not me, though. I stopped where I was supposed to stop. I warn you, decode at your own risk. Another wrote the site is evil.
Oh my
Some
God,
even claim the
dude.
site caused hallucinations. Today, the website is still
Dude,
on.
it's just a bunch of like people who are actually mentally ill, and they're all convincing each other to like waste their time.
It has
Yeah, it's like
thousands
actually
of
trolling
pages,
on a
and
deep
people
level.
are still going crazy trying to decode it. These sites aren't just about hidden secrets. They show something about human nature. We crave answers. We want meaning. And some
Humans
rabbit
love
holes go
puzzles.
too deep. My friends, not every mystery needs solving. And the healthiest move is knowing when to stop. Visual Venture. Make sure you guys check out today's sponsor at War Thunder.
That was
Play for
awesome.
free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile now by using my link below. New and returning players that haven't
Smoke a
played in
lot of
6
talk
months
to
will get
me
a
in my
massive bonus
dreams.
pack. If you
It
guys
means
like
she
this
wants
video,
to
we've
meet
covered
me.
plenty more strange websites, and some of them are really disturbing. To watch my video on this series, the most unsettling websites on the internet, click right here. Love you guys. Peace.
Yeah. I'm hallucinating right now. I'm seeing a yapping fox. Ah, it sounds like a skill issue, mister. Oh, that was a good video. Guys, go check him out. He's really good. He makes really informative videos. Yeah, that was a blast from the past. I remember when my friends brought this website up back in like freaking middle school, I want to say. Yeah, it was really great. It was just like sat there like scrolling through a bunch of bullshit. Okay, chat, are we ready though? Because this is kind of strong. A deep dive into the self-inflicted downfall of Miss Queef. Uh-oh, chat, we're watching this train wreck in slow motion. Lay it on me, mama.
How do you go from averaging 6 viewers per stream to 40,000 in just a few years, reaching...
You're a cameraman for Ice Poseidon. Next question. I just saved you an hour and a half.
192,000 on your most viewed stream of all time. Well, that was Miskit, a normal guy who used to be a Twitch fanboy, and who in just a few short years would find himself hanging out with those same streamers that he had admired, calling them friends or coworkers, and finding them reaching out to him in order to be a part of his streams because he had outgrown them. And to take it a step further, he had co-founded an organization with streamers that he used to watch in his bedroom. Streamers that were there from the absolute beginning of Twitch. Misgift's success story was...
Why is he the only one that's not smiling? Even Asmon and Tectone are smiling. What is going on? Why does he look so depressed? Can someone explain that one to me? Like, every single person is smiling. Even with their with their mouth closed. Because they all got more views than him. There it is. And making eye contact. You're right. He's avoiding eye contact.
Unprecedented in both its speed and scale. So how is it that you can go from the top of the world to the absolute bottom, isolated from everyone you used to call a friend? Well, all it took was one stream from Emiru on the 25th of October, 2025. She is one of the biggest streamers in the world, and in that stream she would reveal to us that for years she was in a secret relationship with Misgift, and in that relationship he did horrendous things to her. To the surprise of everyone, Misgift in just a few hours would come out with his own response during a live stream, and it would be terrible. It would be catastrophic. He would confirm the majority of the things Emiru was saying while trying to twist it into something else that didn't matter at all. He had essentially managed to make the situation 1,000 times worse, and guys, it was already terrible. And look, by now, I'm sure you know how internet drama works. When it rains, it pours. And after Emiru's statement, many others would come out with their own statements about their own experience with Misgift and how much of a terrible person he was. This once incredible success story had gone from inspirational to morbid. And Misgift, once at the top of the streamer world, was now completely and utterly isolated. So what the hell even happened? Well, look, as someone who was chronically online on Twitch during the rise of Misgift, I think I'm pretty well equipped to talk about this topic while also explaining to you what made Misgift so special, how he was able to rise to fame so aggressively only to so violently lose it all overnight. So you already know the drill by now. Let's do this.
Let's go.
Art comes in many different forms, like this ancient Japanese illustration in which an octopus is doing certain things to a woman. There's also this illustration of that same woman killing that same octopus. I think there's like a story there or something. But the point I'm trying to make is that art is subjective, which is how I can explain the fact that I consider these 4 new sugar-free premium energy cans from GamerSubs to be pure art. You can buy one of these chosen at random for $3, and if you don't like to fool around with RNG, then you can buy a whole case, 12 of them, for $33. And the best part is that you can use the code MUJIN at checkout to get 10% off your total order. And finally, if you actually do buy something with my code, then join my Discord. DM me personally with proof, and I'll give you a special roll. You'll find all the necessary links in the description and the pinned comment. So now, without further ado, for real, let's get to the video. Alright, so as I mentioned in the intro, Misgift was essentially a nobody. He was an average guy. He completed college and he was about to work a full-time job. He would have a bit of a health scare and would end up in the hospital. This would change his perspective on things. And that's when he would decide to start streaming. The only problem was that, well, he was getting 10 viewers. And as soon as he felt that he was making some sort of progress with the viewer count, reaching 24 average viewers, the next month he would go back to 6. This is the reality of being a small streamer. It's hell on earth. And he was getting very frustrated at the fact that he wasn't growing at all. This is when he would decide to diversify. He would make a YouTube channel. It was called Misgift at the time. Today, it's called Misgift Documentaries because he renamed it. But the idea was very simple. Misgift was a streamer fanboy. He was very active in many of their communities, which gave him a keen understanding about what makes a streamer laugh, their sense of humor, while also taking into account their community's inside jokes. He would use this knowledge to create documentaries on...
Asmongold reacts to Who is Asmongold with 10,000 viewers. This guy loves viewer counts, man.
Some of the top streamers at the time, except they'd be mostly inaccurate. They'd be full of false info and inside jokes. It was mostly meant to be comedic. That's because Misgift was hoping to showcase his own sense of humor. His first video would be titled Who is Tyler 1? And to his massive disappointment, it would barely get any views. He'd start to spam this link in multiple communities, hoping...
Which is super cringe, by the way.
...that someone would click on it, would watch it, would react to it, and eventually someone would. Misgift was truly hoping that Tyler 1 himself would react to this live on stream.
If it's truly funny, the streamer will find it. I gotta say this. The algorithm will push it if it's really funny.
But instead what he got was Tyler 1's brother, Erob221.
fucking E-Rob, man.
Watch that video on stream, and that would be one of the most defining moments in Miskif's career. That's because E-Rob would enjoy it, he'd laugh at it, and his chat would love it too. Seeing that many of the top streamers would share many viewers, they'd start to post that video in other streamers' chats too. Miskif would then make a video titled Who is Greek God X, one of the top streamers at the time as well, and he would react to it live on stream in front of 12,000 viewers. These videos would start to gain traction, and Miskif was reconsidering maybe he wanted to be a YouTuber since he was finding so much success here compared to Twitch. But before he could even begin to see whether these YouTube videos would actually bring in more viewers on Twitch, he'd all of a sudden receive the opportunity of a lifetime. This is what truly changed everything. Look, by now, it's no secret. Twitch originated from Justin.tv, a website that was originally made for you to be able to stream yourself to strangers while they interacted with
Twitter, MySpace, Facebook? God, Justin.tv was onk status, dude.
you in chat. Twitch would be created purely for gaming content. Justin Khan, the founder of Justin.tv, would see that there was big demand for gaming-centric content, especially with the rise of esports. This is when he and his team would create Twitch.tv purely and only for gaming content. If you wanted to do more vlog-centric content, then you would just have to go to Justin.tv. However, at some point, Justin.tv would shut down, and Twitch would be bought by Amazon in 2014. However, around December 15th, 2016, Twitch would make a big decision. They would now allow you to do IRL streams, in which you vlog yourself walking on the street, going to a restaurant, whatever. This was a very big deal because prior to this, you were not allowed to stream on Twitch unless you were playing some form of video game. And one of the first streamers who would take full advantage of this change, of this shift of content on Twitch, would be Ice.
It's hard to believe Ice Poseidon used to just be a RuneScape streamer and getting fucking horrible TTS donations blasted at him.
Poseidon. Before doing IRL, he was an old-school RuneScape player who lived with his parents. What made him unique at the time were multiple factors, one of them being his very loyal and loud community, as well as his song requests, in which that community would
Only OGs though, man.
request songs that seemed legit, that seemed real, while randomly sprinkling in the N-word and other slurs to make him react to it and then say, "You're banned," which at the time made him blow up. After the introduction of IRL streaming, Ice Poseidon would move from his home in Florida to Los Angeles, in which he would become a full-time IRL streamer. Barely 7 months after the introduction of IRL back on Twitch, he would be featured on Rolling Stone with an article titled "On Air with LA's Most Wanted Man, Life Streamer Ice Poseidon." A year later, The New Yorker would send a reporter to Ice Poseidon's house to start documenting his life. He'd end up writing a very lengthy profile about who Ice Poseidon is, what he does for a living, and how it all works. It was very in-depth and would take you around 41 minutes if you want to read it. Look, I don't even know if I can explain to you fully just how much of a big deal this guy was. He really had to be there. He was revolutionizing not just streaming, but the absolute definition of what good content was. He'd find himself in ridiculous situations and would make content out of anything and anyone. His community would be global. I mean, it was so powerful that you'd see random graffiti like this of him on a wall. Not to mention that even to this day in 2025, if you type "richest man in LA" on Google, you find his picture. That's something his community did on purpose so that
$4.7 billion net worth, self-made.
he can go flex the random women on the street and hope to pick them up. Today, in hindsight, his content seems average, but back then...
This was back when people didn't really know about sleep streams, where people would donate TTS to wake people up. Like, that wasn't really a thing until he kind of like made it popular.
He was the first to do it. He made a video, for example, about how he made $5,000 while sleeping, in which viewers could pay money to request songs to wake him up. And that's something that even streamers like iShowSpeed have done
That was
today.
later.
But what really changed everything for him was when he would do the RV trip stream, in which he would get a bunch of his friends on an RV and tour the country randomly, impromptu, and would create some of the best, most memorable content the live streaming world has ever seen. Now, tangent aside and back to Miskif, Miskif had made a video on his channel titled "Who is Ice Poseidon?" and Ice had reacted to it with 11,000 live viewers. He found it funny, his community loved it, and so that's when opportunity struck. Ice Poseidon's manager, Brent Caskell, otherwise known as Scuffed Steve Jobs, that's a name Ice Poseidon's community gave him, would reach out to Miskiff and tell him, hey, remember RV Trip 1? I'm sure you watched it. We're about to do RV Trip 2. So how about you come along to the sequel of this legendary stream, and maybe you can make an actual real documentary on Ice Poseidon this time. Miskiff would immediately take the opportunity and fly out. This would be in the summer of 2018. However, as always, there was a complete miscommunication between Ice and his manager, with Ice introducing Miskiff as his cameraman for the trip, and that's exactly what ended up happening. There was no documentary to be made. The man behind the camera for most of the trip was Miskiff. But that's not to say that Miskiff didn't have memorable moments himself, making his own mark on the stream and being able to showcase his sense of humor. Look, overall, just like the first trip, the sequel managed to be just as crazy. And this time, Miskiff managed to be a part of it. Back during 2018, anyone who watched or had anything to do with streamers knew that this RV trip was happening and was keeping up with it in some shape or form, including the subreddit Livestream Fail. You see, initially, this subreddit was made purely to share fails that would occur on livestream. Since it was live, it meant that the odds of bad things happening was way higher than usual. The subreddit would truly peak during the H1Z1 days, in which you would see a bunch of streamer bugs, drama, and fails. Soon enough, though, the subreddit posters, as well as the mods themselves, would realize there were only so many fails to find on Twitch or even YouTube. It's not like 100 of them happened every day. Soon it would be a place to post any highlights from streaming, whether it be funny moments, memorable moments, sad moments, you name it. But during the RV trip, both the first one and the second one, Livestream Fail was littered with clips from those trips. Like, you could go to that subreddit every day and the entire front page would be full of clips of what had happened the prior day, because not everyone could keep up with everything happening, right? It was the biggest advertisement Ice could have ever asked for. Hell, even bigger streamers at the time, like
a lot of streamers don't understand that people don't want to sit through an entire stream, and sometimes your most popular clips and the way people get to know you is from like clips and shorts. That's how LSF got really popular with these streamers.
Disrespect would hint they were keeping up in some way or another with this RV trip. It was that legendary and unprecedented. This was like reality TV show without the scripts or the producers. This was reality, period. And people couldn't get enough of it. Unfortunately, though, RV Trip 2 would end in a disaster, in an incident dubbed Horseshoe Bay, in which Ice Poseidon would very nonchalantly, with no empathy whatsoever, break up with his crying girlfriend live on stream because he had cheated on her with her friend in the same hotel he booked her. This turned his entire community against him, and he was overall hated like never before. And of course, throughout this entire event, Miskiff was the cameraman. I mean, you already know at this point. His very powerful community would revolt against him.
Again, what did I say about airing out your relationship laundry in public?
And would vow to boycott his streams unless he stopped being such a stupid person. And while his hate was at an all-time high, the livestream fail mods saw an opportunity. Ice Poseidon was very controversial. His community was uncontrollable, and overall, he was a liability. So they initiated a community vote to ban Ice Poseidon from livestream fail. You wouldn't be able to post anything about him, talk about him, nothing. And seeing that a huge chunk of livestream fail users were also part of Ice Poseidon's community, this was perfect because they could give him a big middle finger. Everyone knew how much the subreddit helped him to grow. So they voted yes. And Ice was banned from livestream fail for many years to come. In the meantime, though, Miskiff completely avoided all this negative attention. During the RV trip, he had met streamers like Erop221, and they had followed each other. In fact, he had networked with quite a few people. And so after the RV trip 2 had ended around June 2018, he had started to see momentum on his Twitch channel that he had never seen before, going from 6 viewers to a few hundred.
That's a lot,
of course, was
and a few hundred back in like 2018 is insane.
Enough to live out
like now, a couple of hundred in perspective. I would say because of like how popular Twitch is now, so to speak, I would say a couple of hundred is probably closer to like a couple of thousand.
Dream. No, he would take it yet
like,
another step forward, moving into a house with a bunch of other streamers like Erop221 and creating content together. Look, by this point, if it wasn't obvious yet, Miskiff was you. He was a normal person. He was someone who just watched streamers, and now all of a sudden he was sitting in a room with all of them laughing. Many people who were dissatisfied with Ice Poseidon's behavior started to watch Miskiff instead and would support him monetarily to see him live out their dream. They were essentially living through him. And they would make sure that no matter where you were on Twitch, you would hear of him and his new community. For example, someone would make him an emote, and he would call it Miskiff Egg. Now, in order to network, he made it a point to always raid someone after streaming. And I mean, you guessed it, they usually were bigger streamers. After he would raid a streamer, the only thing you would see in that streamer's chat was this obnoxious-ass emote. His community would spam it so much that most streamers would actually end up banning it. It was impossible at this point to not know who he was, or at least have heard of him. Barely.
It's viral marketing too. It's kind of scary.
A few months later, you'd find him on the Scuffed podcast that was made by Trainwrecks TV.
Miskiff should have been like a corpo, like aggressive marketing CEO. He would have been so great at that.
And in it, he was so comfortable sharing his sense of humor, having conversations with some of the biggest streamers on the platform. Trainwrecks would make it a point to bring in smaller content creators from time to time, but none of them would shine through like Miskiff truly did. It's as if he had prepared his entire life to become a streamer, and now that he finally got the opportunity, he was excelling at it.
What's scary is that with how Miskiff functions as a person, because he's been studying all these people, he knows their mannerisms, he knows how to joke around them, and that's like half the scary thing about collabing with people that you don't know, is that you don't know where to toe the line, and this guy knows it because he's been watching them avidly for years. So he can kind of like social chameleon into it really easily.
Showed. Most of his streams at the time would be spent playing marbles, in which users in his chat could race each other to get first place, or he'd straight up just spend his time doing the most random, ridiculous things you can imagine, like doing front flips on his stream, shaving his head and his eyebrows, staring at a wall for 10 hours. I mean, truly, it was the Wild West, and people loved it at the time. As this was happening, and around the end of 2018, people would start to realize something. The livestream fail subreddit, once known to share fails of streamers and then eventually talking a lot about Ice Poseidon, would now become a forum that fueled Twitch drama. Didn't just talk about it, but actually played a critical role in it.
It's super toxic because, like, you know what the other thing that's bad about, like, LSF is that there's somehow moderation involved, and there's also been proven instances of the mods in LSF having a bias towards certain streamers. So like conversations get shut down really easily, and it creates a bias and it fuels drama and toxicity.
I mean, this right here is the front page of Livestream Fail from the Internet Archive back in 2018, and you can see that. Whenever there was a big Twitch ban, whenever there was drama, whenever there was a highlight, it was always on this subreddit. More than once, you'd see Twitch drama that was fairly niche make it on the front page of Reddit, which would attract tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. It wasn't just all about highlights anymore. This was also about gossip, about drama. However,
I never see VTubers on LSF, I feel like. Isn't that weird?
One familiar face you'd start to see often on the front page was Miskiff. He had a talent of making many clippable moments. He could turn a serious moment into a humorous moment. He could make a boring moment into something ridiculous, and everyone would start to clip it and share it, knowing that they'll get free Reddit karma. In fact, his clips...
Wait, isn't that the guy that threw up on stream? Am I crazy? That's the guy, isn't it? Or am I thinking of someone else? I swear there's a really old clip. No, maybe it wasn't Gross Boy. There was a Shadow Priest on World of Warcraft that streamed back in I want to say like 2015. I don't know about that. I know it was a Twisted Face streamer. Okay, hold on. I think I'm confusing him with someone else. There was an RBG Shadow Priest that was streaming on Twitch back like in 2015 or 16 that threw up all over himself. Like projectile vomited all over himself on Twitch. And I remember like seeing that clip on Livestream Fails. Wow, I feel really old all of a sudden. Holy shit. Yeah, and I remember he got so like blasted drunk, or he was on drugs and he like just threw up all over himself.
Misgift would become so damn common that
Yeah, I think I
Livestream Fail
got
would make him a
someone else. I think they
filter.
look
This was
alike.
a very big deal at the time because look at the people that also had a filter. Dr. Disrespect, Soda Poppin', Trainwrecks TV. There was a filter for drama, and there was
Asmon's not there. Interesting.
a filter for XQC. This guy was now one of the greats. And mind you, this happened in under a year of him getting off RV Trip 2. It was insane. He was finally starting to see the fruits of his labor. He had gone from a few hundred viewers to now having over 1,000. And within the beginning of 2019, he'd
Jumping from 3K, from 1,500 to 3K.
have over 3,000 live viewers. This already took him from being a hobbyist to someone who can do this full-time and make a lot of money doing it. But of course, to Misgift, it wasn't enough. There was so much more he wanted to do, and he was only getting started. But the question was, how do you go from having 3,000 average viewers to later reaching over 7,000? How do you go from the top 1% of Twitch to the top 1% of the top 1%? Well, the answer is one simple word: parasocialism. On April 21st, 2019, a user would post a clip on Livestream Fail titled "Scuffed Pokimane Brings Actual Content to Twitch." It would be upvoted over 5,000 times and would end up on the front page of the subreddit. Here's the clip. Watch.
This is Bean.
Oh my god.
His name is Bean.
Is that a freaking eagle?
Name him. He is a juvenile red-tailed hawk.
Oh, it's a hawk. Oh, yeah, hawk.
He's probably 6 months. He was hit by a car a few. Oh, they're really excited about that.
That's
he
a
was hit
cool
by a car
hawk,
a few
man.
months ago. So I just got my falconry license and I'm rehabilitating him for a couple months. So
That's
I
pretty
just fly him
cool.
every day, and I weigh him every day.
So yeah, the whole point of this clip was the fact that she kind of looked similar to Pokimane, but was actually bringing real content to the platform, showcasing her hawk while being very confident about it. As always, Misgift would waste no time. He saw how popular she was on the subreddit, he saw how many viewers she gained after that clip was posted, and so when he found out that she was trying to build a PC, he reached out and gave her some advice. Of course, it wasn't mostly helpful, it was mostly comedic.
Oh no. Oh, wait, at 2060? Oh my god, this is 7 years ago.
Jokes, and it was really just for content. At some point, Maya would give him this look of desperation, and it would actually become a very popular emote.
Oh, yeah.
But what happened soon after, though, is that they would actually keep making content together. And Misgift would notice fairly quickly that every clip posted of these two on Livestream Fail would get upvoted to oblivion. I mean, guys, as someone who unfortunately browsed this dumbass subreddit every day in 2019, I can tell you right now that not a single day went by without seeing a clip of Misgift and Maya on the front page. It was getting
That's how I know Maya. I didn't know that Maya was the girl that did animals. I knew that Maya was Misgift's girlfriend at one point. Even though she was known for like taking care of animals and being really cool and stuff, I didn't know about her and then put the dots together. Yeah, Fillian's collabed with her. A bunch of people have collabed with her in the past for her animal sanctuary.
People were shipping them hard, so it's no wonder that in just a few months, Maya would move in with them, and this would be their reveal. Watch.
I'm going to meet her family.
That's not it. That's not what he's gonna say. That is true.
Chat, we're roommates.
We're dating. He's my boyfriend.
Look at how excited the chat is, dude.
What?
Look at these people. Look at how excited everyone is. You're probably wondering, why are people so excited over two streamers dating? Well, it goes back to the whole parasocial aspect. Misgift was a normal guy. His viewers saw themselves in him, thinking...
People also like shipping in, what is it called? In like reality TV shows. Yeah. Wow, that's awkward, so cringe. Yeah, well, to some people, this is their hobby. They just can't help themselves. They're like, oh shit, poggers.
If he can do it, I can do it too. They lived this dream through him and also wanted to live the dream of finding a girlfriend like Maya through him too. And now, yes, this is very wholesome, this is very nice, but you've watched rom-coms before. You know that all the excitement's gone once the couple kisses, right? Was this going to be the case here too? No, it wasn't. If anything, the parasocialism got even crazy. When Miskiff would cheer Maya up on stream, it would get posted as a clip on Livestream Fail. There will be wholesome moments in which Miskiff tells Maya that she doesn't deserve him, she deserves better, and that he's very grateful to be with her. Aww, on Livestream Fail. Oh look, another clip of these two with over 8,000 upvotes. Oh hey, that's another clip right here, 6,700 upvotes. Would you look at that, the same amount of upvotes, again, another clip featuring them both. Guys, this got so ridiculous that at some point someone posted a clip with the title, Maya eats some of her cereal and then breathe.
4,000 upvotes!
And within the span of 6 hours, it would get more than 4,000 upvotes. This was meant to make fun of the state of this subreddit. It was literally just a place to post clips about Miskiff and Maya at this point. You see, this subreddit, even though it had evolved into being a space to discuss Twitch drama, still had a big void that wasn't filled after the banning of Ice Poseidon. This new parasocial aspect between Miskiff and Maya would definitely fill the majority of that gap. And thanks to this subreddit and many of these clips going viral, sometimes being on the front page of Reddit, many people start to find Miskiff. There's this thread on the Miskiff subreddit asking, out of curiosity, when and how did you discover Miz? One of the top comments says, oh yeah, he made an impression of Tala 1 and it was a clip on Livestream Fail. Another one would say, oh yeah, it was a clip in which Maya was explaining to Miskiff that a skunk was not a pet. There are so many comments in this thread, I mean there's 451, and so many of them...
It's a really clever, social... I don't want to say experiment because he clearly knows what he's doing. He's doing this on purpose. It's the same thing as collabing, but like on another level, because you're getting into their real life. You get in their head, you get in their space. Collabing is like, oh, you know, one and done kind of thing. It's like you do it a couple of times, maybe you actually become friends or like streamer friends. Yeah, social engineering for lack of a better word.
Will point to the whole Maya and Miskiff arc. No wonder the guy went from 3,000 average viewers to 8,000 right before becoming official with Maya. And look, some of you may not be fully aware of what 8,000 means, but just to give you some perspective.
And this is pre-COVID too.
Sponsors will pay you $1 to $2 per viewer per hour when you play a game, for example. So imagine what 1 hour of a sponsorship would be like. Imagine 2, imagine 3. This guy would be making some yearly salaries in just the span of a few hours with this view count. From many people's point of views, he had already made it, essentially. But to Miskiff, there was always more room to grow. The numbers could always go further. And seeing that the whole Maya and Miskiff arc had come to a conclusion, he had to move on to the next bigger and greater thing. And for that, he would take direct inspiration from his
using people as stepping stones or stepping stools.
mentor, Ice Poseidon. Gordon Ramsay is one of, if not the most successful celebrity chef on the planet. But you see, just like Miskiff, he had very humble beginnings. When he was 19, he was a nobody. Someone that had done technical college and done a bit of catering here and there.
His mentor was a massive prick.
However, he had that hunger, that drive, and he wanted to be the best, so he went to the best. And at the time, that was none other than Marco Pierre White. Marco was, and still is, the youngest chef to ever attain 3 Michelin stars on a restaurant in the UK. That is the highest honor a chef could ever hope to achieve, and he did this while having the reputation of one of the first chefs that had a potty mouth. This guy would absolutely torture, destroy his staff. I mean, people would come in and try to work for him. After a day, they would leave. He would kick out celebrities from his restaurant if they gave him attitude. And he was seen
honestly based
as a rock star. Gordon would absorb everything he could during the span of the 2 years he worked for him, and would then go on to establish his very successful businesses. I mean, truly, even if you were to ask him today, he would credit much of what he learned to Marco. If you want to be the best, you simply learn from the best. And that's exactly what Miskiff did with Ice Poseidon. During our V trip too, everyone was just having a good time, being high, doing whatever. But Miskiff was there providing entertainment, but also sucking everything like a sponge, understanding what made Ice special, and seeing how he operated. many of the things he learned with Ice would stick with him. And after he had received unprecedented, crazy, insane momentum due to his relationship with Maya blowing up, the next step for him was incorporating everything Ice had done thanks to his influence. Now, some of it would be very direct, right? Like poaching the brains behind Ice Poseidon's operation and hiring him instead. Jacob was the man who set up all the tech of Ice Poseidon's streams, kept track of his dashboards, his stats, and even his financials. Miskiff would later hire him to work on operations for OTK. We'll see what that is later. And at some point, he would hire one of the most longtime cameramen of Ice Poseidon, Victor. Now, this was very straightforward. It was very obvious what he was trying to do, but he would also take it a step further. You see, Miskiff understood that a big part of why Ice Poseidon had become so big was because
you can also poach them and people can't really say anything about it either. Like, you come out, if you say, oh, if Ice Poseidon came out then and said, oh, well, you poached my cameraman, it'll make Ice Poseidon look bad. It's just a bad look, so you have to leave it alone for appearance's sake.
he knew exactly how to use the people around him for content.
Yeah.
He didn't manage to do all this alone. He would literally go out randomly on the street with no plans, meet up a random stranger, and make an entire 4-hour stream with them worth watching. But Ice, just like any other streamer, would hold grudges, would have a blacklist, would have people they don't want to interact with if they wronged them. Miskiff was willing to throw all of that to the side if it meant getting more viewers. There was no limit. There was no cutoff point. There was nothing you could do to him that would stop him from collaborating with you if it meant more viewers. There are some examples. Around April 2019, Miskiff would go to PAX East with another streamer by the name of Sven. They would meet up a cosplayer, and that cosplayer would very openly start to talk dirty to Miskiff. She'd start whispering things in his ear, making him blush, and telling him things like, "Call me daddy." After she would leave and the conversation would end, he would look at the camera and jokingly say, "She sucked me off." To which Sven would say, "Really?" jokingly. A month later, both Miskiff and Sven would get banned for a week. Why? Well, because Jenna, the cosplayer, didn't really like the clip. She didn't like the fact that she was drunk, and she didn't like the fact that Miskiff made that joke. So she sent her lawyers after Twitch to copyright strike their VODs, which made them get banned for an entire week. This had happened a month after Jenna had messaged Sven telling him, "Yo, I didn't really appreciate the joke," and they settled it privately. The outrage was incredible, right? The entire community was rallying against her. In fact, it got so bad that she was even copyright striking Reddit posts made about her. Another post would get made calling her out, DMCAing other posts, and it would reach the front page of Reddit with 22,000 upvotes.
I didn't even know you could do that, getting people banned over DMCA. I wonder if that's gone now.
Really bad for her, and it was also very bad for Miskiff, because to him it's as if his career had ended suddenly for a week. He was having a very hard time mentally to deal with this, and would even cry in the shower about it. He would reveal that later. Now usually, right, assuming you were in Miskiff's shoes, you would blacklist Jenna. You would never want anything to do with her ever again, right? Well, 3 years later, he would actually invite her to his stream. They would collab together, and he'd end up uploading YouTube highlights of the stream itself. To this day, his most viewed video of all time on his channel features her. His third most viewed video is also with her involving shock collars, and she would make an appearance another 2 different times with very highly viewed highlights.
So she probably just didn't like that she was wrong. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's so hard to say with this kind of thing. It's like, if she was really not okay with it, she wouldn't collab with him, right? Because, like, at the end of the day, she's far more popular than him. She must have been okay with it.
Videos. This didn't just help her redeem herself in the eyes of the community, it obviously led to way more viewers on both his YouTube and his Twitch. This was someone who was clearly unstable, who was very irresponsible with her lawyers, who got him a week-long ban and made him scared to lose his entire career, and yet there she was, redeeming herself in the eyes of the community while giving him many views. This was who Miskiff truly was. But it wouldn't end here. He would really go after anything that got him views. At some point, a fairly known streamer by the name of Slicker would be outed as a scammer. He would scam other streamers over $200,000, asking for loans, asking for help, and it would end up actually being used for...
If you gave this guy money and knowing that he gambles, I don't know, man. I think you got fleeced, man.
Gambling. One of the people who was affected was a long time...
I wouldn't give money to someone that I know gambles actively. I just wouldn't. Sorry. Figure it out.
A friend of his who was dealing with cancer. He had scammed her for over $50,000. It was a scandal of epic proportions. And no one wanted to talk to Slicker at all. He was pretty much deemed blacklisted. It was over. except, of course, for Miskiff, who would invite him on his stream to hear his side of the story. He would bring him on, he would bring XQC on, he would bring Hassan on, and he would even bring the cancer patient who he scammed out of $50,000 on too, where they confronted each other and Miskiff just sat there ranking in the views. And hell, if that wasn't enough, Alinity, the streamer who famously said let's copy Stripe PewDiePie, and who also threw her cat on stream while at some point feeding it vodka, was easily, by 2019, one of the most hated people on the entire internet. At some point, in a teary-eyed apology, she'd say that she's sorry, that she didn't mean these things, that she's trying to be better, and that this isolation, the fact that she had lost all her friends and is hated by everyone, is leading her to have some very dark thoughts. Still though, no one wanted anything to do with her. She was radioactive. No one reached out to her, no one talked to her, no one wanted to help her redeem herself, except one person, of course, Miskiff. He would at some point invite her on his podcast and hear her side of the story. He would help her redeem herself in the eyes of the community, and it would actually end up working. In fact, she'd become a recurring guest on his streams, always collabing with him, always being part of his events, and it really showed that this guy took Ice Poseidon's philosophy to the next level. He didn't just know how to use others for content, he also didn't hold grudges. He prioritized views.
No. He doesn't care about grudges as long as it gives him more views and money. If she brings him 1 billion views and he makes money off of that, then the grudge is whatever. Because that balances out his egoism because it's giving him power and it's giving him money and clout. Yeah, no, there's no way.
Emotions over feelings, and it worked tremendously well, to the point where he'd even beat his own expectations as he embarked on his newest journey, which would be the formation of OTK.
Oh yeah.
On June 25th, 2020, Tips Out would announce that he was leaving the esports organization known as Method. This was someone who was fairly influential in the content creation sphere, and many were wondering what his next steps would be. Well, they wouldn't have to wonder that long, because a few months later, OTK, otherwise known as One True King, would be announced. It would be yet another network for content creators, more specifically streamers, and as you can see here, one of the founding members was about to be Miskiff, alongside other big and renowned streamers, with Tips Out being part of the leadership. They would make their official announcement on the 11th of October 2020, with the founding members being SFand, Tips Out, Asmongold, Rich Campbell, and Miskiff. This was, of course, a very big deal, okay? This new org featured some very big content creators, one of them being Miskiff, someone who had been growing exponentially for the last few years and seemed to only want more. And as Miskiff was embarking on this very new and exciting chapter in his life, he would put an end to a previous one, seemingly out of nowhere. On September 15th, 2021, he would make a tweet saying, "From me and Maya, read," linking a twit longer. He'd say, "We want you guys to know that Maya and I have decided to break up. We both want to be very clear that there was no event, no cheating, no drama that led to this decision. We mutually decided that this is what's best for both of us in our current lives. We both care about each other so much and are still friends. We're supporting each other through this, and we ask that you all do the same for us both. We're going to take a couple of weeks off of streaming to process and to take care of ourselves. Thank you for supporting us through these past 2 years. We can both say that they've been some of the best years of our lives, and we're super grateful. See you in a few weeks, Ms. and Maya." So for you to truly understand just how big this relationship was in the content creation world, some of the biggest streamers on the entire planet would be commenting words of support here, and this tweet would receive a ridiculous amount of engagement. This was a few months after celebrating their 2nd anniversary, and it really did seem like it came out of absolute nowhere. You'd see people commenting things like this. Normally, I don't give a fuck about people's relationships, but this one hit different.
That's called parasocialism. You have been fried by the content brain.
Thousands of people were there to witness these two getting closer to each other and eventually, well, making it official, and now it was over. But things were moving fairly quickly, because as Maya was moving out, Miskiff would announce that Emiru, not even a month after the breakup, would be moving in. You see, Miskiff had a house at this point, he had multiple content creators living there, and Emiru was also about to be a part of this. She was well known at the time, she had her own audience, and the reasoning for this happening was that Emiru lived in Kansas and had a bunch of stalkers that threatened her life. Miskiff would so gracefully extend his hand out for her to come live with him in the same house as him and his stream of friends, and she said yes, making her feel the safest she's ever felt. A few months later, on January 3rd, 2022, she would join OTK as a founding member as well. This would blow her viewership up to the stratosphere, okay? She'd be averaging 2,000 viewers, and by the time she would join OTK, she'd be averaging 16,000. Shortly after that, Soda Poppin' would join the organization too, one of Twitch's OG streamers. OTK was now the place.
I remember when Soda was a squeaker and he just played Feral and Mop. Yeah.
To be. Everyone dreamt of joining this org. Everyone who joined it would have their viewership triple, quadruple. I mean, this was insane.
I just know
For
he's a
Miskiff,
feral
though,
druid.
OTK would allow him to conduct bigger and better streams, in which he would yet again put Ice Poseidon's philosophy at work and use others for content. He would collaborate with so many different streamers in one of his series that he made with OTK, which was School. In this show, Miskiff would ask a bunch of streamers questions that should normally be answered by a high schooler to see whether they were smart enough or not.
Popular. This was a really good idea. Even I watched this.
Only be one of those events, of course. They would have sports days, tournaments. I mean, this org was absolutely on fire. It single-handedly made many content creators want to move to Austin, Texas, where all these streamers lived, so that they can
Big mistake.
be a part of these events. The name OTK was all of a sudden synonymous with growth, with clout, with money. And Miskiff, as a co-founder, was of course at the absolute center. Everyone wanted a piece of him and his community. Everyone wanted a piece of OTK. There was no one who wouldn't collab with him, no one who wouldn't be open to doing something with him. One could say that by this point, Miskiff had truly made it. He was really at a point where he could call himself
Those Louis Vuitton boxers.
be open to doing something with him.
Those are Louis Vuitton boxers. That is insane.
One could say that by this
never
point,
seen that
Miskiff
before.
had truly made it. He was really at a point where he could call himself the top 1% of the top 1%. This was all, of course, reflected in his viewership. After founding OTK in 2020, he would find immense success in the coming years. By 2021, he was averaging 40,000 viewers. This would stay consistent up until 2022, when the very method that he had used to attain this fame, this idea of using others for content, would fatally bite him in the ass. At the time, many people didn't know this, but this was truly the beginning of the end. Trainwrecks TV is a streamer that's been streaming for almost a decade now. He rose to prominence on Twitch and eventually became a co-founder of Kick.com. Now look, he's always been a well-renowned streamer who would always collaborate with some of the top streamers in Austin.
I remember, I really am like a fucking wow-unk, because I remember Trainwrecks leading RBGs, rated battlegrounds in, I want to say WOD, which was like 2016. And one of my friends was a hunter and they played with him like a few times at high rating. And he was a fucking screamer. So much so that everybody would have to mute him every once in a while when they'd go on like they would lose over something stupid. And he would start yelling at everyone. So like, I just think to myself, like, I don't know these people from like, oh, they joined OTK. I'm like, I know them because they used to play WoW, man.
But his big break would truly be in 2021, when he would stream gambling and slot machines on Twitch. But slot machines have always been a category on Twitch for a very long time. What made Trainwreck so special, though, is that he was gambling obscene amounts of money. To a typical gambling streamer, $10 per spin on a slot machine was considered a lot of money,
That
right?
is
They
a
were
lot.
wagering a lot. Trainwreck was over here,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure people spend usually like $1 to like 20 cents.
max betting $1,000 per spin and making it look like it was nothing. When the slot machine would hit, he'd be winning hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars live on stream. This made many other streamers want to gamble and take advantage of this new popularity, as well as rake in the money that these gambling websites were offering.
Gambling sponsorships are insane. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Asmon said that with his viewership, with 20,000 people back in like BFA, they offered him like 7 figures. 6 or 7 figures.
Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars
Yeah.
for just a few streams per year. These streams were getting out
Correct
of
me if I'm
control,
wrong,
and there
if
was
I
big
remember
concern over who was watching them and how many were being influenced to gamble, something that can very easily ruin your life.
I hate you. Why? I can't even say 6 to 7? These are a bunch of children.
After a year of extreme success for Trainwrecks when it came to gambling streams, Twitch would come in on October 18th, 2022 and prohibit most forms of gambling, specifically the ones that Trainwrecks was operating with. This is what would eventually prompt him to reach out to the founder of the casino he played on and create Kick.com with him. Now, do you remember Slicker, the Twitch streamer who scammed $200,000 out of multiple streamers for gambling? Well, this was in 2022, a month before Twitch had outlawed gambling on its website. As this was happening, many streamers were kind of pointing the finger at Trainwrecks and other streamers that streamed gambling, indirectly blaming them for creating people like Slicker. On September 19th,
I wouldn't blame them directly. It's like, I mean, like, yes and no. I don't know. It goes into like morality because it's like Twitch allowed this for so long, so like, aren't they at fault too?
2022, Asmongold would tweet, "How in the f is Slicker not banned on Twitch? Guy literally uses the platform to defraud dozens of people, streamers and viewers alike, and admits it. JDon is still sitting a perma while Slicker gets to go live and laugh about actual crime. It's an absolute disgrace at Twitch." Trainwrecks would reply to this tweet, saying, "Because your pals decided it was in their best interest to use and platform the very person that scammed everyone for his horse racing and tennis bets to somehow twist it and wager their war against me. And we both know deep down why the insecure little man is doing this." So to Trainwrecks, this whole thing was just a way for people to wage war on him and his success that he found with gambling streams. When Miskiff would see that tweet from Trainwrecks, he would attempt to do what he's always done, farm engagement out of a serious situation. He'd reply to Trainwrecks saying, "If we're going to deplatform people for scamming others, shouldn't we have banned you for Joltcoin a few years back?" This is in reference to a coin that Trainwrecks had peddled on his stream years ago, I think it was around 2017, that ended up going absolutely bust. If you invested in it, you most likely lost your money. Miskiff would of course later delete his reply, but not before Trainwrecks would reply first. And this would be an absolute bombshell that no one was ever expecting. He'd say, "Are you going to send Maya and Mitch to railroad and blackmail me like you did those girls to cover up all those sexual assaults, you fucking scumbag piece of shit? You want to come at me and make shit up? Then you better be sure you don't live in a glass house, you insecure pussy." Now,
Oh my god! He just went for the throat, dude. Actually just went, rabid animal fucking going for his throat and ripping it apart like a freaking animal.
of course, this was ridiculous. This was insane.
If I was that pissed, I'd probably write something like that too. You insecure pussy.
This was never heard of before. Where did this come from? Railroad? Blackmail? Girls? Sexual assaults? Plural? Whoa. This got serious real quick. People already forgot about Slicker. This was over, right? This had ended in a couple of days. Now it was about Miskiff and Trainwrecks. What's going on? Barely a day after Trainwrecks had made that bombshell accusation, a streamer by the name of Adriana Lee would go live, saying that back in January of 2020, right? Bear in mind, we're in September 2022 at this point, she had gone to a party in Miskiff's house, got blacked out drunk, and one of Miskiff's roommates, Crazy Slick, would attempt to do this weird CPR maneuver where it seemed like he was just making an excuse to touch her chest. You see, according to Adriana, she wanted to go live with a twitlonger in 2021, explaining her point of view. This is when Maya would be sent to her house to see the twitlonger and allegedly ask her to not include the word sexual assault in there because it didn't happen. Adriana would post that twitlonger in 2021 and would say that she's been suffering the consequences ever since, being blacklisted out of every party, an event in Austin, and having very vicious rumors being spread about her so that even her friends were forced to separate from her. During her stream in 2022, she'd show us Miskiff's
TBC classic
reaction to her twitlonger.
Oh wait, that's Miskiff playing this with S-Fan.
2021, and it was him completely downplaying it. Watch.
Wait, I know this. Oh my god, I'm actually having full-on flashbacks.
It's sexual harassment, whatever. At a low scale, it's not really a big deal. I don't think people really gave a shit. Jonathan as well. You're gonna be like this. All this well.
This clip obviously added a lot of fuel to the fire. It seemed like he didn't care. It seemed like it was
Your
indeed
ancient brother. TBC Classic came out in 22, man. Relax.
it kind of a cover-up, and it seemed like Trainwrecks wasn't exaggerating. On the same day, September 20th, 2022, Adriana would make a thread of people Slick has been weird to /harassed /assaulted because people had reached out to her to share their story as well. And in these DMs, we could see Slick being an absolute creep to many women like this one. This one really stood out compared to others because it was him essentially.
I'm just in love with you. Your voice, you're so beautiful. Everything about you, your art, oh my god, please marry me. How many times I have to reject you to drill the idea into your fucking head? You're so amazing. Wow, thank you so much for talking to me. The fact that you use your energy to type to me. I love you so much. We'll be married one day. That is freaky. That is freaky.
Just talking to himself.
Hell
with the woman in question saying, "You're so sad. Oh my god, move on, bro. Take your horniness elsewhere." And him saying, "I'm not horny. I'm just in love with you. Please marry me." To which she would say, "How many times do I have to reject you to drill the idea into your fucking head?" And he would just keep on going. What made this worse is that he was doing this consistently to up-and-coming streamers, to people who were growing, who hadn't quite gotten to the famous level yet, knowing full well that they might be interested in him because he lives with Miskiff, the guy behind OTK. The streamer FanFan, for example, was one of the people that Slick was being very weird to. And I mean, look at this. The guy was like, "If we ever meet, you're done." She'd be like, "What, on site?" And he'd say, "You're getting bent over immediately." I mean, it was so awkward, so weird. She was clearly uncomfortable, but in her own words, she didn't want to offend a well-known streamer, right? She tried to keep it simple.
Yes, that is a very powerful tactic that people use. If they have a bigger following, if you come out against them, their fan base will likely hound you and say that you're lying, even if you're completely telling the truth.
Well, because according to other streamers, for example, if you would ask for nudes and they wouldn't send them, they'd just get blocked. They'd get blacklisted from parties, from events, and they would probably have rumors spread about them. It wasn't fun. Now,
This is why I can't imagine like doing like collab content in real life. Like you do one false move and then it's over for you.
Aya, who had long broken up with Miskiff by now, right? It's been over a year, would be forced to respond to this, saying that she didn't pressure Adriana to cover up the assault. She just wanted to make sure that it wasn't as serious as she was making it out to be, making sure that it wasn't sexual assault, while apologizing for injecting herself, admitting that maybe there was this unseen power dynamic, seeing that she was a bigger content creator than Adriana, which might have pressured Adriana into not being as honest as she wanted to. This would make her want to step away from online platforms indefinitely, and that would last for quite a while. But this was only the beginning, right? Miskiff's world was truly starting to fall apart around him. Asmongold, one of the co-founders of OTK and one of the bigger streamers on the platform, would say that he's furious and that he would vow to cut Miskiff loose if he failed to act on Slick's accusations, if he failed to kick him out, if he failed to disavow him. Very shortly afterwards, and I mean, everything I'm talking about right now has happened in like less than a week, right? Like literally in the span of a few days, OTK would suspend him, announcing an internal investigation over these accusations. And if that wasn't enough, Ice Poseidon would come in, make a tweet, and say, "Miskiff, I brought you into this world, and now I'm taking you out." This post got so much engagement, it's sitting at over 87,000 likes, and it shows DMs with Miskiff on Twitter, in which during the RV stream 2, you can very clearly see Miskiff use things like the N-word hard R, the F-slur, I mean, pretty much anything cancelable imaginable, right? Now, why did Ice do this? Was it the fact that his career was dying at this point and wanted more relevancy? Was it jealousy? Was it a mix of both? Who knows? But even though some people were very outraged at this, some others were saying things like, "You letting this slide for years says a lot about you as well." But don't worry, because this roller coaster was far from ending. Crazy Slick would then go quote-unquote missing after he had sent goodbye messages to friends, and they would...
Oh no! He's doing the classic, I'm gonna disappear, you guys!
Would, in the same day, find him. Barely a couple days after Adriana had come out with her story, Miskiff would make a statement, saying, "Hey guys, to update everyone, we found Crazy Slick. He has not harmed himself. After hearing from Adriana and the numerous other women who have shared their experiences with him, it's clear that he is not the person he made himself out to be." In terms of his living situation, Slick has been told to vacate our house as soon as possible. He would then apologize for the things he said on his alt stream, right, where he was saying, he was downplaying. He was like, sexual harassment, but I don't think anyone cares. And then he'd reiterate that he was open about his past. His messages from 2018 happened, he acknowledges them, but he can't change what he said, and he knows that he's changed as a person. He would then apologize to everyone, his viewers, OTK, the staff, the partners, and would announce the fact that OTK was hiring a third party to investigate investigate all this to make sure that he wasn't complicit. Now look, this could have ended here. Most dramas would have ended here. Just wait for the investigation and see what it comes up with and move on. But Adriana had other plans. She would keep going live and talk about this, and her statements would then become conflicting. She'd state things like she didn't know that it was sexual assault until recently, and was told by her friends who were still conscious at the time that Slick only touched her wrist and neck, not her chest. She would collaborate with other streamers such as Hassan Piker. She would of course keep streaming, and at some point she'd call a friend, and the friend would admit that this was never assault. So the story was becoming very convoluted, very contradictory.
Yeah, people also tune out. When this started getting all convoluted and like annoying and confusing, I tuned out.
People didn't really know what to believe. I mean, listen to this yourself.
It's kind of a whole fucked up situation, and I don't think people are taking it, it's not like it was a full-blown, assault, but, when you're touching someone who's incapacitated and their friends are asking you to leave the room on top of you, already trying to kiss you.
So it wasn't a full-blown assault. He was touching her while she was unconscious, but she was told it was only her wrist and her neck. The whole chest part was only added later. So look, Slick was definitely very guilty. We had proof of messages of him being very creepy towards up-and-coming content creators. That's unacceptable. There were questions surrounding Adriana's involvement as well as Trainwrecks. Trainwrecks would come on multiple streams. He would stream himself. He would invite other streamers such as XQC, and he would constantly reiterate that the only reason he talked about this was because victims reached out to him and were too scared to move forward with this. He would really push the narrative that no, this wasn't just crazy Slick, this was Mischief. He knew what was happening, he was covering it up, and he had a hand in this. It seemed like he was never going to be satisfied until Mischief's career completely imploded. Adriana would yet again keep going live, saying she hasn't changed her story, she calls out people trying to discredit her, all while talking to Keemstar, right? Not someone who...
Oh no! Of all the people!
really want to side with you when it comes to drama. The comments on Livestream Fail were getting tired of her, saying everyone agrees Slick is a creep, but she should probably just stop talking. Or Maya apologized and Miz is waiting for the investigation to show him clean. What does this chick want? Slick is gone. So to many, it appeared like she was just trying to milk this at this point. At some point, Ludwig would make a video on this on his Mogul Mail channel. It would get 3 million views, and seeing that Ludwig has many people who watch him that are not familiar with Twitch drama, it would make many people aware of this whole cover-up situation, right? He didn't really cover this favorably for Mischief. This was yet another blow to Mischief's reputation. Not only did people on Twitch now understand that this was going on, but normies who have yet to discover him also were aware, oh, this guy's a weird sex pest. Now yes, a few months later, on January 2nd, 2023, he would get reinstated in OTK once the third-party investigation would conclude that he didn't have a hand in this, right? He was not complicit. He truly was lied to and he had no idea. But to Adriana, this wasn't enough. A few months later, on April 9th, 2023, she would announce that she was not just suing Mischief, but she was also suing OTK, the entire organization, for defamation, seeking over $2 million in damages. She would refer to Crazy Slick in the lawsuit as immensely popular. In reality, though, the guy barely had any viewers, right? He was just Mischief's friend. That's why he was living with him, and that's the only clout he had. He was also not a member of OTK and not associated with the org in any way, so it definitely felt weird.
How do any of these people have the money to like sue like this too? Suing is expensive.
That entire controversy changed Mischief forever. In his own words, it broke him. It made him never want to trust anyone again. It really made him feel like everyone around him was trying to use him. And as you can see from his viewership, after this controversy, he would never be able to recover the fame, the numbers that he once had prior to that Trainwreck's tweet. What was interesting, though, in all this is that one of the people who came out to defend Mischief directly was none other than Emiru. As this was all happening in September 2022, she would say, no way Mischief knew, specifying, you guys know I've lived with Miz for 10 months and I've hung out with him every day since I got here. The Miz that I know would never know the full story and just let that happen.
10 months isn't enough to get to know a person. That's the scary part. She might actually be telling the truth, but maybe, I don't know. With what she's also said is how he bombed her, and in the first 10 months, that's usually like the best time.
But there's just no way that he knew. I'm sorry, that's just not the person that I know. As she was fighting back tears, about to cry, she'd also say, he has always been there for me whenever something horrible happened to me without even having to ask. This is what would lead us to the next part of the story. People would notice that Mischief and Emiru not only just shared a close friendship, there was something there. There was something happening, but they just couldn't really put their finger on it until they received a clue. But what followed would be years of conspiracy theories that would be proven right in the end. This post on the subreddit Streamers was made on November 2022. The title, Emiru and Miskiff are obviously dating. Why do people pretend they are not? What wouldn't help is that a streamer by the name of Justin Minx would say that Emiru stole Miskiff from his ex-girlfriend Maya, even going as far as saying a hoe is a hoe. Minx at the time was someone who always hung around other streamers that were very well renowned in Austin, so her saying this carried a lot of weight. It added even more fuel to the conspiracies. But then, in May of 2023, the gloves would fully come off. Emiru would accidentally open a file in which she was compiling a bunch of DMs she was receiving from Miskiff.
She was doing this even back then?
These DMs were fairly aggressive, and it was him complaining about how she acts on stream, complaining about her behavior and the people she was appealing to. This was like Christmas Day arriving early for 4chan.
For the schizos, yeah.
Months, OTK 4chan was saying that they were dating. They had a lot of suspicions with these streamers' behaviors, how they show up on their streams, their eye contact, etc. But this right here was real, tangible proof. Around this time, the YouTuber Bo Blacks would upload this video titled "Sharing these Miskiff Emiru DM leaks will get you banned," in which we can see these images that she leaked on her stream in very bad quality, and people of course enhanced them. Here are some examples of what Miskiff was berating her with. You literally—
Yeah, this actually matches. I genuinely don't like think of things, blah, blah. Like, you can kind of make it out. It does match.
Lift your legs like a cheerleader multiple times. Stick a bottle between your legs and play with it. Farm those parasocial people by doing this content in the first place after claiming to me you don't want these weirdos and you hate this community and hate the just chatting community. To many, this just sounded like an over-controlling boyfriend, not a friend who just invited you to live with him because you were worried about stalkers. This is when the conspiracy theorists would truly get to work, going back through old streams and seeing Emiru clearly have a change in behavior after interacting with Miskiff. For example, during the stream in which Miskiff was berating her for having a glass bottle in between her legs, she'd look at his messages on her phone, leave for 45 minutes, and when she would come back, she would just cry. At some point, Emiru and another streamer's chat that was a friend of hers would say, "I got a black eye a week or two ago and it's finally almost gone." Now, these conspiracy theorists were already doubting that this was because of Miskiff being
Dude, the schizos are insane!
abusive towards her, but they had no idea how the black eye actually looked. But thanks to Emiru leaking it on accident, since she had it open as a window and was alt tabbing so people could see it for like a split second.
Wait, why are you taking pictures of yourself? Wait, but hold on, why are you...
They were able to see it. Her excuse was that she ran into a wall, but the conspiracy theorists had a very hard time believing that. They were blaming Miskiff. What didn't help was—
evidence for a case, but chat, you don't understand. You're a streamer. You're streaming. I just feel like if I was in that situation, I'd be way too paranoid. Like, I would close everything before streaming. Does that make sense? Yeah, never leave evidence for schizos.
That when it came to the people talking about this on Twitter—
even if it's true, why do the schizos have to know about this?
Miskiff would make an effort to block them, further making himself look bad. And I mean, look, this might seem obvious now that we know that, oh, Miskiff did this to Emiru, she made her stream talking about him, he's a weird guy. But back then, it was hard to actually convince the majority of people that this was reality. There were quite a few people that still managed to dislike this video. This was seen as nothing more than conspiracy slop, something that belongs on 4chan and just simply isn't reality.
Are you talking about the image or having the image up and on your PC while streaming? Yes, when you're streaming, why would you have it up? Maybe it was an accident. I don't know. I'm a very paranoid person. I just feel like I wouldn't do that. And by the way, this is like the first time she leaked her DMs too.
Because guess what? In the meantime, Miskiff and Emiru were farming content together, both growing and using each other for views. They'd react to things together, they'd collab together, and of course, all while hiding the fact they were in a relationship. People would make clips of them, would farm views, would post them on Reddit, on YouTube. I mean, anytime there was any interaction of them flirting or being friendly to each other, people were starting to ship them. This was no surprise, as they had done so with both Maya and Miskiff in the past. This clip of both of them playing Mario has over 300 million views. I wish I was joking. Dude. 300 million. Even after a huge cataclysmic scandal, Miskiff was able to keep a good chunk of his career. He had done what he had always done before, but this time while keeping his relationship a secret. Except, just like with Maya, this wouldn't last too long.
And we would know that this made him pissed off too.
Long.
Now
and he
we
would
know
yet
he
again
hated
find himself alone with nothing more than his community and his channel to comfort him. On May 31st, 2024, Emiru would state on her stream that she needs to get out of Miskif's house. She'd say, there's a lot of different reasons, but I just feel like I need to get out of this house. You know, I like living here, but there's a lot of stuff that I haven't told you guys over the years. She'd specified that it had nothing to do with drama, and most people assumed like, oh, this was her stalker that she's been dealing with for years. In fact, she had multiple stalkers. Maybe that had to do with that. On July 24th, 2024, she would finally move out. But what people noticed was that she moved out all by herself. Miskif wasn't following her, he was staying in the old house. Miskif would make excuses for this, saying that this was because he was moving to a different state. He wanted to move to Los Angeles and leave Texas entirely. To the conspiracy theorists, though, it seemed like, no, they were actually breaking up. This was over. And he further confirmed this by running the hell away as far as possible. In the beginning of 2025, he would quote-unquote escape Austin, Texas, and would go live in Japan, spending a very long time there, streaming, making content, and overall, it seemed like he was running away from his past life. Of course, this trip wouldn't be without controversy.
Yep, the cherry blossom trees, I remember talking about it. And again, I had to word it very delicately because I didn't want to piss off all the mistards.
He would do pull-ups on a cherry blossom tree, which would get him in trouble with Japan since they're seen as sacred, but he would end up apologizing and we'd move on from that. Miskif was just being Miskif, right? Regardless, he'd get past it fairly quickly. I mean, it was nothing compared to the stuff he's been in the past. And afterwards, he would finalize his move to LA, saying that it's been the best time he's had in a long time, he's been loving the people he's met, and that he's very happy about his decision. This came just as it was announced that he actually won the court case versus Adriana. Her defamation case was thrown out by the judge, deeming it not worth a lawsuit, like this was just invalid. That's probably because she decided to sue him for defamation. I don't know whose idea it was. A lawsuit about defamation in Texas is like unwinnable and it had nothing to do with her being sexually harassed. But whatever, to him he was innocent, and this was proof. And you know, not much would change. Even while living in Los Angeles, he would still farm clips like he always has. Like this one right here, in which he jumps into a pool and pretends like he drowned, right? Like, hilarious. At the end of May 2025, he'd make an official video saying goodbye to Austin, Texas. The fact that he's moved to Los Angeles, the fact that this was going to be a new chapter in his life. And this would actually be his attempt at completely rebranding himself, reinventing what Miskif even means. His content would shift from being this video game-centric stream to more finance-focused. For example, in June 2024, he would bid for a broken Lamborghini so that he can fix it. Watch.
The fact that a broken Lambo is $123,000 is insane. That's crazy.
We won! We won!
He'd end up bidding $125,000 for a broken Lamborghini, and his goal was to repair it and make content out of it, seeing that others have done so and gotten millions of views. He would then go on a rebranding tour, right? Going on podcasts with other content creators, talking about how he was canceled, how he almost ended it all, how he was made to be a villain, how he was the victim, and how now he won the lawsuit and he's right here, ready to start over again. One of the
most misunderstood streamer.
podcast he went to was the Iced Coffee Hour, hosted by two content creators who were very finance content focused. Here he'd explain many different things. How he was canceled, how it broke his mind forever, how he will never be the same person he used to be in the past, how he's a multimillionaire, how he's shifting towards more finance focused content because his audience has been growing up with him, and how nothing really interested him as much as entertaining people, right? It wasn't about the money for him, it was truly about just
and
being...
it really worked though. Yes. You know what's scary about this whole thing is that it actually worked. He did such a good job of PRing his way around, and all the normies that watch this kind of content, look, 160,000 views in 3 weeks, that's a lot of views. He actually managed to not psyop, but kind of influence and manipulate his audience to be yeah, he really is the bad guy.
Most
I mean, he's the good
possible,
guy.
reaching
He's
the
the
most
victim.
amount of people. As this rebranding tour was happening, Ludwig would admit live on stream that the video he made about Miskiff's drama with Adriana Lee wasn't really that good. In fact, it was false and it caused severe damage, something that he regrets. He would specify that he had apologized to Miskiff and tried to include him in his events, but Miskiff was still hurt and didn't like him, not wanting to really reciprocate. To Miskiff, this was perfect. I mean, he was on his rebranding tour, he won the lawsuit, he moved to Los Angeles, he had introduced himself to new communities through podcasts, he was changing his content format. Seeing Ludwig apologize now was the perfect timing. On October 24th, 2025, Miskiff would make a response video saying, "Look, Ludwig as well as Trainwrecks tried to ruin my life. They did inconceivable damage to my reputation, and even though I won the lawsuit, everywhere you go on other platforms, you can still see people calling me a sexual harasser, someone who protected like a weird sex pest," and he blames Ludwig's video for most of this damage because he actually reached a big Normie audience. He would end this by saying that, "Hey, if you watched me and stopped watching me because of that incident in 2022, I ask that you give me a second chance." However, even though his rebranding was going perfectly well to the majority of people, to the conspiracy theorists who knew that he was dating Emiru and that knew that her moving out without him meant that they broke up, they found it oddly suspicious how in the beginning of 2025, as he was in Japan, both Emiru and Maya interacted for the first time on stream and actually collabed. You know, it doesn't take a conspiracy theorist to understand this. If two of your exes met up together, it's probably not because they still like you. At the same time, people started
That's true. Yeah, women do not, like, it's not a good sign. It's really not. Especially if they've both been done wrong.
noticing other things about Miskiff that were very interesting. On the subreddit OTV and Friends Rumors, someone would post, "What is up with Pokey and Miskiff?" on October 11th, 2025. They were wondering, why has Miskiff moved to Los Angeles where Pokimane lives and they haven't collabed or interacted once? Other comments would point out, how come he hasn't collabed with many other streamers that he usually collabed with that also live in LA? It seemed like he was being isolated. What didn't help is that on the 17th of October 2025, Emery would talk about something that seemed to be her referencing Miskiff.
As someone who strives and centers their entire content around collabs and then moving to a different city and then nobody wants to collab with you, that is very, very bad.
Watch.
And sometimes there's things in your life or people in your life that, you know, maybe they're not good for you, and chat, sometimes maybe you have to make those choices to take those people out of your life so you can make room for the people that are right for your life, you know? And I also think it's important to never give up. This whole year, I've taken a couple breaks, but
So there she was, breaking down on an RV trip with friends, talking about cutting out people from her life, talking about how the last year in particular was very hard on her. This RV trip was actually on the way to TwitchCon, and Emery truly couldn't catch a break because at TwitchCon she got assaulted by a random stalker. It was overall an absolute disaster. But let's take a step back for a minute. You know that clip where she's crying in the RV? This was actually downvoted to oblivion. It has 0 upvotes. And the comments were very divided. Some people would say, "Glad we are back to the usual parasocial streamer drama posts." And someone would reply with, "You know things are going well for Miskiff when there's a random post that gets posted to stir hate for him. This is maybe the 4th this week." So see, this kind of person was seeing this as a direct attack on Miskiff for no reason because of weird conspiracy theorists. Someone else on the other hand said, "Damn, just say Miskiff already." But for the most part, this was really seen as some sort of weird conspiracy theorist pushing a narrative that was so out of proportion to what's actually happening that they should probably be admitted to a mental institution. However, as you may already know, people like this, as well as the many people on 4chan and other gossip forums that have been talking about Emery and Miskiff for years now, were so damn vindicated on October 25th, 2025, when Emery would out of nowhere make a stream that would put the final nail in the coffin when it came to Miskiff's entire career.
Yikes.
On October 25th, Emiru would go live on her channel with a stream titled Talking About Some Things. In it, for the first time, publicly, she would reveal to us that yes, she was indeed in a relationship with Miskiff. She'd then read a carefully prepared statement from a notepad in which she would detail to us just how horrendous the years with Miskiff truly were, detailing the things he's done to her, the things he's done to others, and how much of a terrible person he truly was. As she was streaming, she would also remove him as a mod in her channel. And I kid you not, I mean, look, I live streamed as soon as it was happening because it was such a big deal. That night, I opened Livestream Fail and I saw the entire front page just full of clips from her stream. It's not even an exaggeration. You can see it for yourself. Here's how she would start off her statement.
I wasn't streaming
Watch.
yet.
Today, I'm finally going to be opening up about the psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment, sexual assault, and threats of blackmail that Ms. Kip has done towards me, and some of these issues which are still ongoing. For the entirety of this year, I've attempted to separate myself from him and not talk about him at all, and not talk about this issue, and just not make it a public thing. I always tried my
So yeah, that was already one hell of a way to start off her statement, right? But this entire 2-hour stream would be bombshell after bombshell after bombshell. She'd show us the ridiculous amount of text she would keep receiving from
She probably has more than this too, by the way. This is just what she thought was appropriate at the time. You saw from 3 years ago, she was already starting to save like Discord screenshots. Like earlier on in the video.
Miskif, even after separating from her, asking, can you please answer my phone, writing these immensely long paragraphs about how he regrets everything, about how he wants to spend the rest of his life with her. And this would be on multiple platforms, on text messages, on Discord, on Instagram. The guy was relentless. She'd have more than 14 screenshots of him trying to pursue her on multiple platforms after she had expressed she didn't want anything to do with him anymore.
Yikes.
And one of those messages would even be like a straight up poem. Additionally, the guy was absolutely crazy when it came to view count and numbers, something that everyone had already known about, but didn't truly understand just how screwed it truly was. Watch.
me. He's saying like, Emmy, you know, I'm gonna kill myself. I waited. I'm gonna kill MS. I waited so long for this, etc. Basically he was upset because I had higher viewership than him. That's literally it.
Yeah.
I had higher viewership than him, and like I said.
Imagine being a successful streamer, dating another successful streamer, right? And going up to her and saying, hey, you know, I want to end it all because unfortunately you have more views than me. It's like, come on, man. Like, what are you doing? Get a grip. But the other thing she had to say wouldn't be funny at all. In fact, they were very serious. You know, she'd expressed to us that their breakup wasn't as straightforward, right? They kind of lingered a little bit since she was taking a little while to move out of the house. At some point, she was crying about something. He sat next to her to comfort her. He hugged her. And she claims that as he was hugging her, as she was still crying, he would put his hand in her pants. Really good timing, Miskif, truly. I mean, yeah, that's the first instinct you should have as a guy when a woman's crying. She would push him away from her, and he'd get up.
I read somewhere that guys hate it when women cry because of the smell. Apparently girls emit some sort of like gross like tear smell, and that makes them want to like stop the crying. I don't know if that's true or not. I just read it somewhere. It's probably bullshit, but like I don't know. Say what now? Fake? I don't know. I read it somewhere. This is not scientific. I literally don't know. I just read it somewhere.
He'd say, oh, I feel like I've done something really wrong and I'm going to leave now. And he just left. She'd also claim that he was a very dangerous driver, very unstable. But how once he drove 150 miles per hour, telling her that they were both going to die because another streamer had a collab with Mr. Beast and he didn't. Seriously.
What are you reading and where? Guys, as if you've never read anything on... I didn't say it was true. I was just asking if it was. I just read it.
Is such a loser, bro. But again, it got even more serious when she would reveal the real reason behind her black eye. She'd say that he would throw plastic bottles at her that still had water in them, so they were heavy, as well as his phone at her, which eventually would cause her black eye that lasted for 1 to 2 weeks. I mean, think about it, right? For a phone to hit your face and give you a black eye, it must have been one hell of a throw. That by itself, without mentioning anything else during her stream,
it depends. Was it an underswing or an overswing?
Enough cause for immediate concern. That's textbook abuse right there. Additionally, she would reveal to us just how little he thought of other people in Austin, how he treated them terribly, how he belittled them, how if they couldn't contribute more view count to his stream, they were human garbage to him. Even if they were nice to him, he didn't care. She would recount a story in which someone was very nice to him, was very sweet, and he would shit talk him behind his back, which really alarmed Emiru. There was so much aggression towards someone who was nothing but nice, and there was no explanation as to why he would be angry at him other than the fact that he couldn't contribute anything to his view count. Finally, she'd end her stream by saying that she is filing a restraining order on Miskif in both Los Angeles and Texas, adding that one of the main reasons why she decided to make this stream was because at TwitchCon 2025, yes, the same convention in which she was assaulted by a stalker, Miskif went up to her staff and told them that if she were to say anything about him, he would destroy her. How would he destroy her, you ask?
Why would he? I need to watch that legal mindset video at some point, because this is like the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Why would you walk up to people and then show us evidence that you're threatening her?
Well, she explained
Even
very
if you
clearly
truly
what he would
believe
say.
that.
Watch.
Multiple people have told me that his plan was to claim that I kill animals and that I killed my own rabbits, since I had several of my rabbits pass away over the course of 3 years while I lived with him. I'm sure he's probably listening now, and it's probably going to come as quite a shock to him that this information made its way back to me and that I've known for months.
And finally, truly, the last thing she would say here is that she says she predicts that after the statement that she had made, Miskiff would try and sue her. Watch for yourself.
And I also wanted to say that I would not be surprised if he tries to sue me for the stream that I did today.
She
and for
was
coming out
right,
about
by the
him.
way.
Not because he
What a
thinks that he would
scumbag.
win, but for PR reasons, like a slap lawsuit. It'd be interesting if that happened, and I wouldn't be opposed to people finding out more of the truth and things that I didn't even talk about today, and what else he's been lying about. And I'm sure there's also plenty of things that even I don't know about. And yeah, there's more things that I didn't even talk about today, but I'm hoping that now that I have this out, this is the last time I ever have to talk about it.
So yeah, not only did she come out with one hell of a statement, truly something that shook the entire streaming community to its core, because everyone's heard of Miskiff, everyone's heard of OTK, but she was also out here telling us his next steps. She knew everything. And just like any online drama, when it rains, it pours. And it didn't really take that long for it to start pouring like a goddamn tsunami. Very shortly afterwards, OTK would put out a statement saying OTK fully supports its co-owner and sister Emiru, and we stand by her side and admire her strength in coming forward and sharing her story. While Miskiff was one of the several founders of OTK, the organization terminated its relationship with him some time ago for reasons unrelated to the recent events, and he holds no stake in OTK or any of our other companies. Out of respect for those who have come forward, we will let their voices speak above ours. And speaking of voices, they all started to pour in. A streamer would say, for years, on my Twitch stream, I had stated I had one bad experience with one Twitch streamer within my 9 years of streaming, and they're finally being exposed for being a terrible human. Another streamer would say, having been in this industry for years now, I've been exposed to many creeps. Sometimes when they are larger creators, I've been scared to say anything because I fear will negatively impact my career. Last weekend at a TwitchCon after party, Miskiff came up to me to say hi, but just grabbed the top half of my face. My friend was in disbelief and told me I should say something, as that was super disrespectful, but I've always been scared of offending
I
people.
hate it when people grab me without warning. God, that fucking pisses me off. I hate that shit. I don't know. I just makes me so angry. Like, I'm fine with like hugs from like friends and stuff, but like grabbing me, whether it's like by my arm or like by my neck or my head or like anything like that, it just freaks me out. Like, you're lucky if you don't get freaking soft.
And I chalked it up to him being weird. Thank you, Emiru, for bravely speaking out, and I can't even imagine the horror she has gone through this year. It sucks that sometimes we can't express our discomfort because we fear it negatively affecting our livelihoods. So yeah, you know, he just walked by, and instead of saying hi, he just grabs the top half of someone's face. I think this is what happens when you reach such a crazy fame level that you start seeing people as genuine NPCs, as objects, as people that don't really matter, like they don't exist. Now look, at this point, I'm not really surprised when it comes to streamers and content creators being outed as weirdos. Unfortunately, you've come to expect these things, but still, as someone who actually does cover these things, well, for a living at this point, I still managed to get shocked at one thing in particular. Rekful was one of the OG Twitch streamers, right? He was the pioneer, the inventor, pretty much, of text-to-speech donations, for example. Tragically, in the summer of 2020, he jumped out of a balcony and, well, left this planet. For many streamers and content creators, this is a very sensitive topic, as he was a very nice guy who clearly had mental problems. As the controversy with Miskiff was happening, someone would uncover a clip of Rekful from a long time ago in which he would call out Miskiff for being a bad friend that only cares about clout. Watch.
How does it feel knowing there are some people who like you because you are famous? It fucking sucks. See, I know for a fact that me going live right now raises the chance that Miskiff doesn't ignore my texts and hang out with me by like fucking 69,420%, you know? It's fucking actually nuts.
Now this sucked.
And people are joking around and they don't get that he's actually being 100% serious, that he ignores them only when he's not live, dude. so sad, dude.
But it wasn't what truly shocked me. It was this tweet from the content creator Arya Saki, who was a close friend of Byron, otherwise known as Reckford. She started this off from a quote from Miskiff in 2025, in which she said, "One of the reasons Byron killed himself was because he was jealous of me."
If that's true, like, you are such a scumfuck piece of shit for saying that. The guy had a history of mental problems in his family and himself, and you think you contribute even, like, 1% to that? You're such a clown.
She would then state that the reason why she had even reached out to Miskiff in 2025 was because she wanted to take him out to lunch for a serious talk. She was coordinating with Emmy, and she wanted to play the middleman. She knew of his terrible treatment towards others and wanted to see if he truly felt remorse after all the controversies he's been through, if he's actually changed. But with that statement, she confirmed, no, actually, he was even worse than he used to be. Arya would specify that she knew Byron very well and that she spoke with him every single day leading up to when he left this planet. And not once did he mention Miskiff's name, not even once.
Yeah, because he doesn't
dude, this
matter.
genuinely left me speechless. We're out here talking about the final nail in the coffin. Bro, there is no coffin anymore. It's been rendered to ashes. Like, what the hell is going on? But we weren't done yet. A producer who had worked for an OTK event that featured Miskiff would come out and talk about her experience with him. She'd say that others were more fit to host, but Miskiff insisted that he wanted to host himself. Okay, cool. Usually for an event on stage that's live, she has to present to you everything that's going to happen, where you can step, where you can't step, what to expect, what not to expect. But Miskiff kept telling her he was too busy, so she actually offered to come to him and explain. She did that and actually drove to his house. Now usually there would be rehearsals, there would be practice. He wouldn't show up to any of them. He'd only show up barely an hour before the event was meant to start. So
I would hate people like this. If you've ever, like, done anything to do with, like, I don't know, theater or like band practice or anything like that, you hate people like this because it's like everything becomes uncoordinated because of them. Every single thing.
she ran him through everything very quickly, even though they were meant to rehearse, and it was obvious he didn't really do that much of a good job. What she noticed, though, was that after the stream, he was feeling down. Everyone was around him comforting him, and no one paid mind to the producer who tried to avoid this from happening. The guy wanted to always be at the center of the spotlight, but was unprofessional and disregarded everyone around him. That lines up with what Emeru said, and I mean, there's another clip literally of him on stream admitting this, but people saw it as a joke and didn't take it seriously. Watch for yourself.
You gonna come to my family reunion?
Only if I could take a picture and say, fun with the family.
No, I don't. I actually don't want you to go. It's because you're like a psychopath. Miz, when you're normal, even at parties, you stand around like this with a drink, and then you walk up to people and you're like, you know, I wouldn't talk to you if your viewership wasn't as high, you know? Like, that's literally what you do all the time. You're an ego asshole.
Because I don't take any of you seriously because you're not actually my friends. No, I'm sorry. You know you're my friend. And is Senna a real one? No. Okay, let's begin on this whole thing.
This clip is perfect to truly show you who Miskiff truly was. Okay, he was in his natural habitat here. Whenever someone would bring up something serious,
Adam said he has some sort of medical episode or some shit. I see. Okay.
even morbid. I mean, the fact that he saw everyone as objects, that no one was his friend, he would always manage to deflect.
But he said that out loud, though, to several people, and said that, like, people didn't really matter to him unless he could, like, use them.
And make it a farmable clip. I mean, if you posted this on social media or Reddit, it would get upvoted like crazy.
Yeah,
Anytime someone would have criticism or become serious, he would always turn it around, and people would say, oh, you know, that's just Miskiff being Miskiff, right? That's not actually how he behaves off stream, I'm sure. He's just doing this for the content. Everything was for the content. People would also find old clips of him admitting the fact that, yes, he had a fear of his ex Maya surpassing him in viewership. What?
Dude, these people don't stream for fun. They just only care about clout or money. This is crazy.
Watch for yourself.
I was terrified. I couldn't understand what was happening. My viewers were dropping, Maya's were only going up. And there was a part of me that thought that I was gonna
Because Maya's entertaining?
More than her, and I don't know if it was my ego or what, but I couldn't take it. I felt like shit. And I was on the phone with Austin, and then XQC, I somehow got on a call with him, and he talked to me for hours, making me feel better about it. And he did. And I genuinely, after talking to him, felt a lot better. And I don't think he even realizes what he did for me in that call, but he really did help me a lot. I was nonstop. It's all I could think about is that she was beating me as a streamer and I was going to die. But then he reminded me that women have a cap and men just grow as streamers, and that's pretty much just fucking it. So, felt a lot better after that. I really did. So, thank you to XCC.
Right, so as ridiculous as this statement was, the chat was full of hearts, okay? Everyone was there to support him. Everyone was like, "Aw, like he was insecure and now he's over it." How did he get over it? Women have a cap. Men to the moon, baby. Oh my God. I mean, he wouldn't just talk about this behind Maya's back. He would say it to her face during a stream. Look at this.
No, okay. I used
Poor
to...
Maya. I hate this clip so much.
Used to get upset. I'm not kidding you, chat. I used to legitimately get fucking pissed because I'm like, are you fucking serious? I brought this bitch into the world, and now all of a sudden she's fucking growing faster than I was. Because I was going like this, and she was...
Dude, look at her face.
Going like this. And I'm like, what the hell is this crap? What is going on here? It's...
Yo, Maya, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know about this clip, bro. This is so sad.
It's the fucking Babsity effect. Because I was pissed. I'm like, you were such a pussy.
The fact that you can say that and feel like it's okay to be
Yes.
Yeah, I would like that.
Yeah, Miss Kiff made you, bro. Oh my God, the ego. I don't know, man. I'd lose my temper. I can't handle like people like this. I could not like live in LA or Austin. I'd lose my fucking mind. Gun to my head.
Is it bad? That and guess what? I don't care anymore. But I don't care anymore.
But you're being so casual and like being like, yeah, I used to get really bad. It's like, it's not cute. That's not cute and funny. Again, airing out your laundry out in public. I'm sorry, Ma. This is the pause on your face.
And I stopped caring. Oh, she'd be done. I'd pull the plug.
He'd pull the plug, guys. Did that mean he would end the relationship, or would that mean that he would cut the internet router, which she had done before, by the way? At some point, she had surpassed him in viewership, and her stream went...
If I found out, if I was living in a streamer house, which I would never do because I freaking hate people. If I found out you pulled the plug, I'm gonna put a plug up your ass.
Offline. Yes,
I don't know how they tolerated his ass.
Was that petty. Also, I want to point out how he said that he had brought her into this world. Miskiff truly felt this way, right? He actually felt that he brought her into this world, so he was owed that he stayed bigger than her. And yet, no one saw the red flags here either. It was just Miskiff being Miskiff. It was just for the content, guys.
It's so
it was
funny.
just for
It's
the
so
clips.
cute.
Anyway, other streamers would mince no words. Like Asmongold, he'd just straight up say, fuck off, have some dignity, and retire. He was over this. He'd also say that he's known about this for 6 months. Emiru, Cena, and Valkyrie, right? Some of the biggest female content creators would reach out to him, ask him for advice. And he wouldn't say anything because he didn't want this to come out without Emiru's consent. He'd end this by saying that he regrets ever platforming Miskiff and giving him any sort of viewers. Another Austin streamer by the name of Kyuko would also come out with her side of the story regarding Miskiff, saying that during their first hookup, she was so drunk she couldn't even keep her eyes open. She was initially supposed to crash on the couch, but somehow ended up in Miskiff's bed. He would then have his way with her, and she was too busy to care, and then she'd say that he coached her to say that it was consensual afterwards, to the point where he was so sweet to her that they ended up even having a consensual fling. When that fling ended, she would notice that terrible rumors would start to spread about her. People would hear that she was manipulative, bad, awful. Miskiff would go as far as telling others that she... God, how do I say this without being demonetized? He'd say that she would produce lines of ketchup from her arms with a sharp object while having sex. Yes, I think... I really hope that's clear enough. Then when she got in a relationship with Lucari,
Who does that?
he would still constantly shit talk her and spread rumors about her. So that's how it worked in Austin, right? Everyone was trying to make it as a content creator there, and at the top of the food chain, you had the OTK boys.
During my relationship with Lucari, he'd regularly shit talk shit about me and he said to tell Lucari that he's an Olo Cuckoo. He tried poisoning our relationship the whole time. He planted ideas into Lucari's head to start fights. That's fucked up.
Rumors could make
That's
or break
fucked
all your
up.
collaborations, all your invites to parties, and no one would bother messaging you to verify. Austin in general was a hellhole, okay? It was like Game of Thrones. As this was all happening, a clip would resurface that was posted recently, I mean this was in 2025, of the two streamers Yugi and Arki teasing Miskiff about Emiru being happy without him, right? Implying that they were in a relationship even though this wasn't public.
This
yet.
is so
Miskiff's
good.
reactions
This
were
is such a good clip.
definitely interesting to say the least. Watch for yourself.
Dude, you know one of my favorite collabs was Emiru, bro. Oh my god, Emiru was so cool. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Dude, everyone was like so cool. Emiru,
Dude,
bro.
the rage baiting was so good, dude.
Because you were with Sina and Bonnie, but it's just the thing that Emiru, when she popped up, I was like, dude, Emiru was like, I'm not gonna lie, everyone's been so cool so far except for like, I feel like there has to be like a cancer. Like,
Look at his face, dude. He wants to punch them so bad.
But definitely, like, Emiru was definitely probably one of the best.
Do you think that phases me at all?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? That's like none of this. Like I don't even understand, bro. You can't hurt me. There's nothing you can do.
He's actually matching the emote. He's matching the emote.
No, I'm not talking about anything. That's great. That's fine. Enjoy yourselves, brothers.
Whoa, bro, are you okay? Are you good?
They're clever.
Yeah, I'm
They're
good.
clever
I
for
just gotta go to
that.
the bathroom. Like,
They're
dude,
wicked.
no, I'm fine.
It's okay.
I know it's okay.
Dude, wait, what's wrong?
Are you in therapy or something, bro? This is
What did I
fine.
say?
You said nothing. You said you're gonna collab. That's cool.
Do you ever see like hyenas biting lions in the butt, trying to like annoy them and get them away from their kill? That's literally what they're doing. Except Miskiff is like turning around and going like, arr, arr. They're just laughing.
I have no problem with that. No, I told you there's no.
You used to live with Emiru, and then all of a sudden you wanted to use Emiru to become bigger. And
His lower teeth are.
His face, dude. He's about to murder them in broad daylight.
Dude, he's literally the lion.
And everyone's been like having way more fun and doing way more cooler things.
What even are you spinning?
Dude, everyone used to always be in a room, now she's like going IRL and having fun and doing a lot of cooler stuff now. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord.
This is so funny.
Yeah.
I love them. They're such funny dudes. I would be crying
having so much more fun.
laughing.
Like IRL, she was grilling, doing all.
He was triggered beyond.
I will say, good for him for not clocking the word, like, because he looked like he was about to. I'm not gonna lie. I'm surprised he didn't do something. He looks so pissed.
Belief, dude. It was insane. Looking back at this now, it's even crazier. Now look, at this point, the entire world was on fire, right? That's how it felt like. People, including myself, were wondering, okay, when is Miskiff going to respond? Is he going to need a day, a couple of days, hell, a week? Is he going to disappear? What's going on here? To many people's surprise, a few hours after Emiru's stream, he would go live himself. The stream would last around 40 minutes, and it would be an absolute disaster, okay? It was very obvious that he very quickly kind of came up with a statement, didn't really rehearse, didn't really ask anyone's opinion, and just went with it. He would confirm the majority of the things that Emiru was saying. The fact that he controlled her, told her to dress older, stop wearing pajamas, prevented her from traveling without him or going out with
No receipts whatsoever either.
certain people, pretty much confirming that he was a very controlling and crazy boyfriend. He'd say things like, oh, you know, the reason why she got a black eye was because I threw my phone at the bed and it bounced back. It wasn't me throwing the phone at her. But hey, she was also abusive too because she threw plushies at him. I'm not even joking. He said that with a straight face. He'd said that the first year was wonderful with her. They kept everything secret. He had a doggy door on his door, and that's how Emiru was able to go into his room while keeping it a secret from his other roommates. And just as Emiru had predicted, right, like word for word, he would show a video of how Emiru's rabbit cages looked, right, implying that she was abusing them and that they died because of her lack of care. He'd say that she had too many, she couldn't take care of all of them, and she was directly responsible for them dying. Look, I can tell you right now, having watched all this stream live, this was maybe the only notable thing he had against Emiru, okay? I mean, the whole thing was
It's not even relevant to the situation is what I'm saying.
disaster. He still had alerts on. Someone was donating 7777 as he was saying very serious things. He'd make a couple of jokes here and there, just like Miskiff always would, trying to deflect, but this time it wouldn't work. And yeah, before I forget, when it came to that story where he sexually assaulted her, he wouldn't say that they were hugging as she was crying. He said that they were cuddling, and he thought that this was where it was headed. It was an honest mistake. Yes, him slipping his hand in her pants was an honest mistake. Anyway, seeing that the whole rabbit thing was the only dirt he truly had on Emiru, one of her friends of over 10 years would come out with his own statement saying that no, she doesn't abuse her animals. In fact, what happened was that
rabbits are dirty animals. They shit and poop all the time in abundance. Peppa, you got some explaining to do.
Paige in particular was left behind because she was moving out to a new house alone and took her bunnies with her already. He'd of course talk about how dirty rabbits are, about how often they poop, about how they poop up to 200 to 300 pellets per day and that it doesn't smell. He'd argue that the rabbits that did indeed die had bad genetics. It was simply unlucky. He'd show us a picture.
Yeah, or they get scared and die of a heart attack.
Of the new cage in her house and would indicate that everything's normal there. She wouldn't let it get that dirty while her rabbits are in it. Finally, he'd mention how Miskiff would refer to them as rabbits, but he doesn't even know any of their names, not a single one, saying that to him this was nothing more than opportunity and he actually didn't really know anything about them. And just as you thought that things couldn't get worse, here is truly a display of how dangerous parasocial viewers can be. There are people who are saving clips for years, waiting for the day that Miskiff gets canceled so that they can resurface
You don't know what it's like to be a schizo, chat.
Them for everyone to see. At some point, Maya was on a podcast, and Miskiff comes in and pulls off her headphones in a very weird way. This was years ago, okay? And someone posted it shortly after Emiru had come out with her statement to showcase that Miskiff has always been weird to his partners. Watch.
I think Miss is coming up here, but I think it's chat. Ratted on.
Oh, spam when you say something, Maya. They spam like
loser.
Oh, there he is. He's
loser.
Third place.
Hey, that's third place. That's third place.
Third place.
Loser.
Second loser.
Matt, if you broke that headset, you are DMing Shroud right now.
No, drop that. Go get the SIM jar.
Throw the SIM jar.
He's in trouble.
What an attention whore you are. Oh, he doesn't have the thing on.
Yo, Michaela calling him out Insta. That would have been me. I'd be like, you little attention whore.
Oh, damn.
So the poster would
Fucking Michaela called him out like that.
argue that this is important context. Emiru describes Miskiff downplaying all the objects he threw at her as simple jokes. Anything he did that was weird was defended as
off her
a
head
shtick,
too.
as content, as clip farming. So yeah, this was definitely weird, and he did this shortly after losing a tournament in Mario Kart, I believe, on stream. Another old clip, I don't know from where, would get dug out from the dredges of the swamp, right? It would be a 1:21 clip in which you could hear Miskiff berating Maya, saying, "Get the fuck out of the house." Now look, unfortunately, most of this clip would get interrupted by donations, very cringy, stupid, loud donations. But yeah, you could see him screaming at her. I mean, look, this is like a short snippet of what happens. Watch. He's screaming at her, saying, "You're a dumbass, you are dumb, Maya," etc., etc. So
Jesus, man, through the noise gate too.
Not really a very pleasant conversation.
Cringe.
So overall, these past clips are indicating to us that, oh, he's always been this way to his partners. He's always kind of treated them badly. It is important to mention that Maya hasn't said anything since this happened with Emiru, right? And I don't think she will. She's too busy managing her wildlife sanctuary to care. But at this point, you don't really need to go back to his previous relationship with Maya to really see how bad of a person he was with Emiru, you know? And just as Emiru had predicted, barely a week after her stream, Miskiff would file a defamation lawsuit against her and Asmund. Now you ask any lawyer, like Legal Mindset for example, about how this lawsuit's going to work, what are the odds of him winning, and it is hilariously bad. Look, just to explain to you, when you sue someone for defamation in Texas, right? This isn't Japan. You can't sue someone for defamation because they made you lose money as they were saying the truth. Like for example, you harass a coworker, it's true, they talk about it publicly, they make you lose your job, you can still sue them and get money out of them because they cause you to lose money. It doesn't matter if it's true or false. In Texas though, it's different. You have to prove that the people you're suing knowingly lied, right? They said those things and knowingly lied about you. You have to prove that they knew that they were lying, and you have to prove that this caused you severe monetary damage. How the hell do you prove that someone was knowingly lying about you? And by the way, lying. They have to be lying. It's
You
not like
literally have to say it in a DM or something between the people. That's what he has to provide proof of. They'd have to be so stupid to like admit that to him personally or other people.
Japan, where they can be telling the truth and you can still sue them. It's clear that Emiru has a team of lawyers. She was reading a very well-prepared statement. Nothing she said, as far as she knows, is a lie. So again, just as she said on her stream, he will attempt to sue her even though he has no chance of winning. He will lose this lawsuit, and I don't even know why he's bothering. Adriana Lee lost against Miskiff and OTK for a reason, right? As you remember, she sued for defamation. Right now, if you go to Miskiff's Twitter profile, you'll see in his bio, still owner of OTK, now in lawsuit. As if that'll change anything. But hey, it seems that Emiru is doing fine at least. On November 7th, she would appear on someone else's stream and would say that she was considering replying to Miskiff's poem that he sent her, but then found out it was written by AI. She laughed about it. And as I'm recording this part of the video on the 12th of November 2025, she went live for the first time since she talked about Miskiff. She has, of course, more viewers than him. Let's hope he doesn't drive 150 miles per hour in his car. But if he does, let's hope it's on an empty road with no innocent bystanders. Now, Miskiff, on the other hand, during his stream, would say something.
Yeah, for those that don't know, apparently they get into screaming contests in the car while he's driving, and he would just be like, I'm gonna end it all! I'm gonna end both of us while driving really, really fast.
Very interesting. The fact that he doesn't care anymore. The fact that he was going to go, quote-unquote, demon mode against everyone now. He was going to expose everyone. Text messages, proof over the next couple of days.
Where's the demon time,
as well as many others, were looking forward to it. What does he have to expose after being, like, completely destroyed in public? Well, nothing. It's been 16 days, and he hasn't posted anything. Demon mode my ass. The only thing Miskiff has posted was on November 7th. It would be on his Instagram, and it would be an absolute disaster. I don't even know what this is, dude. Just watch for yourself.
What the fuck is this, man? Fuck you! Motherfucker.
I don't know, man. Can someone in the comments explain to me what this means? Because
it means I'm retarded. There's nothing else to it. Yeah, where's the demon time, bro? I really was looking forward to that part.
It just seems like he's acting like a victim. Like, dude, we're not saying fuck you for no reason. There's a reason people are giving you the middle finger. It's insane what ego does to someone. On his YouTube, on the other hand, he just keeps posting shorts of his previous content, as if nothing had happened. Look. This is him getting a hair transplant. Isn't that wonderful? As if nothing had happened, right? God, I mean, what can I even say about this? I was there to witness this guy rising above all else in the streaming world at a speed never before seen. But I was also there when he tried to play himself out to be the victim when Adriana Lee went after him, as well as Trainwrecks. I was there when he was attempting to rebrand himself. I mean, I literally watched his Iced Coffee Hour podcast, and I was there when I watched it all get absolutely destroyed in real time in one night. Miskiff, just like many other content creators before him, is the same warning that we've heard 1,000 times over. Once you reach those high numbers, once you start making a lot of money, once you start feeling invincible, it is so important to stay grounded with the people that you keep around you. It is so important to not let ego take hold of you. Was Miskiff always some sort of psychopath? Or did that only happen once he started gaining more popularity? Who knows?
You know what it is? In my personal opinion, I think he had perfect opportunity. He was always egotistical. You know people like this at your workplace. Maybe it's in your family. They were always like this. It's that money and opportunity and clout will make them go crazy.
What I do know, though, is that he did all of this to himself. He has no one else to blame, and that's a fact. At this point, there's nothing he can do. Even an apology won't do anything. He's screwed up too many times in the eyes of the internet. Does that mean he has no fans whatsoever? Does that mean his career is truly over, one and done? Of course not. It's never that simple. I always say this, but if Dr. Disrespect can still have a successful career after messaging a minor, then anyone can. But we both know that that's not enough for Miskiff, okay? He wants higher viewers. He wants to be the center of attention. And while he could probably keep having thousands of concurrent viewers, people who cannot let go of their parasocialism when it comes to Miskiff, he'll never be able to attain his average viewer count of 40,000 that he had back in 2021. And that's truly what could make him stop streaming and retire for good. Is he actually going to go demon mode?
I kind of think he'll keep streaming. He can't stop. What is he going to do? Get a real job? Fuck no.
Is he actually going to expose other streamers? I doubt it. Is he going to win his lawsuit? Hell no. Is he going to keep streaming? Time will only tell. Either way, he's paused all comments on his videos and disabled likes when it comes to YouTube. And that Instagram reel maybe showed us that he truly still thinks he's the victim and that he's done nothing wrong. Either way, I wish Emiru and the victims the best. I hope they can move on from this. And when it comes to Miskiff, I just hope that justice is served as it's meant to be. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Let's hope this year can end on a good note. 2025 has been
His stare is
ridiculous.
so powerful,
And I'll see you in the next
dude.
video, whenever that is. I love
Thanks,
you.
Boojin! Chad, it's wild. I gave my girlfriend a black eye. Anyway, thank you, Ask Goblin, for the 5 gifted subs. Dude, I'll tell you what, when he couldn't figure out how to turn off his TTS and people were like just spamming it the whole time, it was so funny, man. Do it without pausing. Impossible! I have to yap! Alright, Mr. Bethesda, Mr. Todd Howard, I'm ready. I'm ready to get disappointed. I'm ready to relive my disappointment, should I say.
This video is sponsored by War Thunder.
War Thunder. Yeah.
The year is 2013. 2 years since Skyrim.
Ugh.
5 years since Bethesda's last Fallout. And we'd heard nothing. Fans are
They're
starved.
cooking something good.
Ravenous for anything at this point, they scrambled for any scraps they could find. Voice actors' tweets, employee leaks, Bethesda staff sightings. They'd take anything. But on the 14th of November 2013, a website appears online, the Survivor2299.com. On it, Fallout's Vault-Tec logo and the countdown to December 11th. That was just 4 days after the Game Awards, where Skyrim was announced 3 years ago. Fans dig through the online directory, and its publisher, ZeniMax Media.
Can I just say I hate ZeniMax so much? They shit up everything.
Still, some are skeptical. But then 3 days later, ZeniMax Media actually files the trademark for Fallout 4 in Europe. They'd also said nothing about the website. If it wasn't legit, surely they'd just come out and say so. This could only mean one thing. The next Fallout was here. Bethesda hadn't abandoned us. They were finally throwing a bone to the little guy. And fan speculation goes wild. Then comes the Morse codes. Then the Caesar shift cryptography. Then the Visioneer ciphers. Fans are sat at home in their pants for hours deciphering them. They even find a working phone number on the website, which leads to more codes. Some of these codes reference an actual radio frequency in Massachusetts, which sounds like this.
Oh. It's
Bethesda's
nothing.
YouTube channel is even linked in the source code of the website.
I really miss when video game companies would do this kind of thing. Like little Easter egg hunts and little cryptic messages. I kind of miss it. I really do.
This was serious stuff. Bethesda had gone above and beyond with the viral marketing here.
Yeah,
Every gaming
they're
outlet is
super hype.
talking about it, and there's even Facebook pages and YouTube channels with daily updates monitoring it. The subreddit, watching the websites
It
every
builds
week.
hype.
The 6th of December 2013, almost 2 weeks of code cracking, and fatigue is beginning to set in. But it's now just 1 day before the Game Awards, and 5 days before the countdown ends. The hype is tangible. Until the boys hit us with this tweet.
No, folks. What? No, folks, I'm not going to VGX. Bethesda's not showing talking anything, just some PR teams into LA. Keep grabs. No!
What? It's gotta be a joke. Some sort of sick joke. But then fans boot up the website, and gone was the timer, the Vault-Tec logo. All that was left, a rickroll posted on a server somewhere in Poland.
snakes rule.
3 weeks of speculation
I bet that guy was so happy.
and hype,
The guy that pranked
countless
everyone.
videos on YouTube, and dozens of hours of people's lives spent cracking random ciphers and lining up rivers on Google Maps.
I spent the hours trying to match up rivers and land areas. I found it a little easier to use Google Earth since you can rotate the map around with the middle mouse button. I do feel kind of bad because they could have just said that this is a fake leak. Why didn't they say anything?
For absolutely nothing. Naturally, they're not pleased. The guy behind the website does an AMA on Reddit and is vilified by the community instantly. We hear nothing else about Fallout for a while, and Fallout fans return to the dark.
Aww. So sad.
June the 2nd, 2015, another Fallout-themed countdown timer appears.
People
We've
are
been
skeptical.
burned before.
Yep.
But turns out, this time, it's actually real. And on June the 3rd, it's nearing the end. And finally, after years of anticipation, Fallout 4's announcement trailer is actually upon us. June 14th. It's E3. And Bethesda Game Studio...
God, E3 was such a vibe. I'm kind of glad it... Like, I'm glad, but I'm also not glad it died because it kind of signaled the era of, like, super hype announcements. Now we have, like, Gamescom, but it's kind of, like, not the same. It used to be good. Well, games used to be kind of better. I'm glad it's dead now. Yeah, I'd probably just be hosting dog shit games that would piss everyone off anyway.
is holding their first full press conference. Todd strolls out on stage again,
There
confidence
he is.
radiating.
Let's go.
He's met with thunderous applause. Again, the claims are bold.
All of this just works. And again,
Yep, it sure did.
it just works.
It just
Hold
works.
on. Is that the release date? That's just 5 months away.
Yes!
But first, look to the sky. By God, it's thunder. War Thunder is one of the most
tell me sweet
comprehensive
little
PvP
lies.
vehicle combat games ever created. 10 nations,
Whoa.
over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships.
Whoa.
From some of the most technologically
That's
advanced
sick.
death machines
Chad, do you
ever
play War
constructed
Thunder?
by man, to your granddad's crusty old crop duster. Jump into combat in almost anything. The detail is immaculate. Sharp textures, crisp sounds. Every vehicle is delicately modelled right down to the corest of components. Engines, fuel tanks, weapons, and even the lads inside. All of these are individually targetable, and in X-ray view, you'll see everything close
Can you
up.
hit him in the balls?
The game has had over 95 million players. Join me. War Thunder is free to play on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, and now mobile devices too.
Whoa.
You're a new or returning player on PC or console? Well, for a limited
67?
time, here's a massive
67?
bonus pack. Including an
67?
exclusive vehicle decorator, Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, 7 days of premium, plus a
Wow.
ton more. Just sign up through the link in the description or the pinned comment below. Now, for some quick context, a few years before Fallout 4 was even announced, Bethesda let Obsidian Entertainment, a Californian development team and several key people from Fallout's original
New
dev
Vegas.
team, take the wheel and crank out a Fallout 3 spin-off based on their original plan for Fallout 3 back in 2004.
Ugh.
With only 18 months to get the game out the door,
It's actually insane. I'm surprised it came out.
they got
in
to work
18
immediately.
fucking months.
And in 2010, Fallout New Vegas was released.
Woo!
Wait, was that traits from the first game? Joinable factions? An in-depth reputation system?
I hate the air that you breathe.
And actual skill and attribute checks in dialogue and out in the world?
Yeah! Way better. Yeah, Fallout 4 did not. I mean, Fallout 3 did not have that many dialogue options. Fallout 4 is even worse.
Also, the writing here is actually good.
Mm-hmm.
The world? Pretty
Premise
deeply
from writers
thought out,
is good.
with multiple factions at play, an interesting conflict, and actual player choice.
The chip.
The characters are also well written, and if you don't like someone,
Just
that's
kill
fine,
them.
because this is always an option.
Based! And this is what Dragon Age does not fucking understand. Dragon Age prides itself on being an RPG and doing whatever you want, but you can't even kill your own, what is it called, your companions. Boom.
Then there's almost every chain of side quests in the game affecting the main story and the ending slideshow. There are actually hundreds of endings here. We were looking at a 3D Fallout game with actual RPG mechanics and good writing here. In fact,
and the hard mode is actually hard.
The game had fixed almost everything
You can do
wrong with
Origins?
Fallout
No, I'm talking about specifically Failguard. Yes, I'm not talking about the old one.
3. And it was
I should have clarified.
phenomenal. Obsidian even had to work around the crusty Gamebryo engine.
That's why it was so fucking buggy. It still crashes.
With all the issues that came with it. For instance, if anything in the game is voiced, there has to be a character to actually voice it. This leads to characters in the game like Ron the narrator, Bill the tax collector, and Testicles the debug centurion. The ending slideshow.
They make them invisible, and then they talk in your ear. Isn't that fucking retarded? That's how they get around it. They need to have a character to voice it, because if they don't, he can't voice it.
Though it's also an actual in-game
yapping in your
slideshow
ear.
the character's locked into looking at,
Spaghetti
with
go,
Ron the
right?
narrator behind
Yeah.
it. Anyway, due to the engine, the short
They
development
don't make them invisible. They hide them under the mat. Well, either way, you don't see them, so they talk. It's super funny.
time they'd been given, and the colossal 500 megabytes of RAM they'd had to work with consoles, the big plans they had for the city had to be trimmed considerably.
Yep. Yeah, that kind of bummed me out. When I first got into the city, it was really like...
The big plan
It was so, like, not what I thought. I thought it was literally going to be Vegas.
they had for the city had to be
It was
trimmed
just like... It was...
considerably. But 18 months in, and Obsidian
I
have
never
made
blamed
one
them.
of the best role-playing games of all time.
Yippee!
However, because it's so jam-packed and was made in such a short time, it
Lots
has a
of
rough
bugs.
start.
Yep.
It's horrifically buggy and horribly optimized on release,
Mhm.
almost unplayable in some cases. There's literally a bug where you can't enter the main strip of New Vegas without wearing the old cowboy hat. The bugs are...
Oh my god, I thought that was my computer. My life flashed before my eyes. I paused it perfectly.
eventually patched, but because of its release state, New Vegas receives 84 points on Metacritic.
That's still really
That was
good.
just 1 point short for the bonus
I was like,
Bethesda
oh, my
would have
computer
given them,
crashed.
as per the contract. As a result, layoffs at Obsidian. And around 20 to 30 people are
Oh, they did such a good job.
Nefarious theories about Bethesda begin to float. Some fans even suggest
game was rigged from the start.
Yep.
Obsidian would go on to pitch a Fallout New Vegas 2 and a similar spin-off
Without Obsidian?
with Elder Scrolls. A guaranteed cash cow for both parties. But this time, Bethesda says no. And that was the end of it.
That would have been sick, man.
Fallout 4, probably the most hyped game of 2015.
Yeah.
It's been half a decade since we'd last heard anything at all from the franchise, so people are naturally quite excited to jump back in. And on the 10th of November 2015, the game is out the door. The reviews, amazing. 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, this is IGN. 9.5. They also gave Concord a 9.
IGN. YouTubers are even calling it near perfect. However, when people actually get their hands on the game, they dig in. And it's neither of those things.
Yeah, about that.
During development, Bethesda had looked at Fallout 3's gunplay. Yeah, not really up to standard, boys. So they pulled some programmers from id, who were developing Doom at the time,
Okay.
to help them make actual, functional FPS combat.
That's fine.
And as a result, the gameplay here, a lot better.
Yeah.
The gun modification system from New Vegas
That's
is back,
nice.
and it's heavily expanded. It's actually very good here,
Yeah.
and utilizes the horde of absolute shit you amass while playing the game.
It actually put it all the pack ratting that I used to do, like back in Fallout 3, actually had a use. I thought it was kind of lame that in Fallout 3 there was only like what, the shish kebab and then the rail gun and like a couple other guns that they had that you needed to like gather stuff for, and then the thing that shoots out the crap that you hold. That was pretty fun. And that was about it, to be honest.
Also, more voice actors. So now every third NPC in the game no longer sounds the exact same.
Honestly, it kind of was part of the charm. I'm one of those people that I kind of like that it was just 20 voice actors saying like "arg," and then the other guys go "ooh." It was kind of fun.
Plus, a few other elements of Fallout 4 had clearly taken some inspiration from New Vegas. This game actually has joinable factions, and they play a big role in the resolution of the main storyline.
Not as big, but yeah, sure, I guess. It was better than Fallout 3. It was very linear. Yeah.
An improvement. Companions are also a lot better than 3's. They have personalities here, and even their own quests too, like in New Vegas. They now also like or dislike certain actions you do, depending on said personality. There's now
but that makes it really hard to bang the Piper chick, because she doesn't like anything that you do if you're like stealing.
Sprint button, and that new power armor, pretty cool. However, that's generally where the good ends. See, after a bumpy start, Fallout fans had come to love New Vegas, one of the best RPGs of all time. True. And so, as a following game in this same franchise, some people expected Fallout 4 to improve, maybe even build upon it.
Yeah, right.
No.
Obsidian
Todd
wasn't
Howard
behind
is,
it.
at this point, a legendary game designer, a 4 times world champion. His ideas were groundbreaking.
Yeah,
he couldn't be caged, and his process was not changing for this game. He, and Bethesda as a whole.
And that's the problem. He doesn't want to innovate, and when Obsidian went outside the box and went against the grain, they did not like that.
Could do no wrong.
Yeah,
this was going to be another smash hit regardless. Game of the Year was essentially coded in. And so again, simplification. The character system in Fallout 3, far too...
Zenless Zone Zero is one of the finest Gooner gacha games with console-level quality I've played. When I'm not busy calculating the output volume of breast milk or looking up unsavory ships of Wise and Bell, I'm sitting back enjoying the high-quality animations and flashy gameplay. The majority of gacha games I've been playing this past year or so have all been fairly small titles that don't have the budget to create a detailed 3D open world, but I find it to be a reprieve to visit what the definition of an industry giant looks like. Coming from a company that arguably put gacha games on the mainstream radar, it's no surprise that Z3 was one of the most enjoyable gacha experiences I've had, where I quit after a month. Hi, my name is Psyche, and this video will double as a review of sorts as well as a discussion on how I think gacha games should be enjoyed. I don't think it's far-reaching to say that MiHoYo has set the standard when it comes to monetization and player retention techniques in modern gacha games. Despite this, many players tend to attribute someone quitting a game to be a negative thing, but hopefully today I can show you that quitting is not always bad. Let's first bring up the matter of monetization. MiHoYo has more or less set the groundwork for gacha rates and cash shop deals. While $200 to $300 to guarantee a 5-star character will make anyone think twice, to be honest, I don't really have a problem with whaling or spending money on gacha games as you please, as long as you're aware of where it's going and how much of it is being spent. I'm personally someone that likes to moderate my spending and only spend what I think will bring me more enjoyment of a game. So if you do ever decide to spend money, I have something to pique your interest. Before I get deeper into the video, I do want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, LD Shop. LD Shop is a formal top-up platform for all your favorite mobile games, including Zenless Zone Zero. You can find discounted deals for most of the offers in-game, and if you use the link in the description or pinned comment, you get a 15% and a further 5% off coupon, for a maximum of $50 saved. If you spend over $80 in a month, you also get a free 30-day supply pass. Worth mentioning that the first top-up bonus will activate if purchased through this service. Now, I've had my doubts about LD Shop, but a major plus side is that for some of the most popular games, such as the HoYoverse titles, all you need to provide is your user ID, and the received products will appear in-game almost immediately. Please use LD Shop's services at your own discretion. However, what I can say is that I personally used it myself, and it has worked every time. Once again, be sure to use my link in the description to save up to $50 on your gacha game top-ups. Thank you LD Shop for sponsoring the video, and now, let's get back to it. I suppose we can go over what the best of Zenless Zone Zero has to offer first. The primary reason I decided to return to it is that I heard a lot of good things with how the overall quality of the game is handled, how the story is super digestible, and how the grind is eased down compared to the other MiHoYo titles. And, you know, I gotta admit I was tempted by some of the character designs. Wink wink. So I logged into my HoYoverse account, remembered that I actually did play the game at launch, and realized that I pulled Ellen from the very first rate-up banner. Well, capitalize on the first anniversary and get that free standard 5-star, and I thought, I guess I can build a starter team with Ellen. So naturally, I went to work building this mono freeze team and see how long it would take me before the build is truly completed. Even so, it's a classic MiHoYo gimmick to progression lock the higher ascensions and upgrade materials behind both player level and story completion. So it looks like I was gonna get through the story no matter what anyways. I certainly wouldn't describe the story as anything too unique, but as some had pointed out, it feels very digestible, with all these animated dialogues, comic panels, and the most noteworthy, the cutscenes. Wow, I'm actually speechless. For the past couple months, after playing a lot of lower budget gacha games, which mostly had a visual novel style of storytelling, experiencing what MiHoYo is able to come up with is astounding to see. It's a vast contrast from the static 2D sprites to see hyper-expressive, exaggerated, and almost cartoonish cutscenes is something I can't pull my eyes away from. Even a simple exchange between Wise and Bell is just a joy to watch. I don't care what anyone says, this level of animation right here is top-notch. During the main story, you get to try out all the cool diverse agents and their gameplay, so there's no need to invest in a team yourself. When exploring the city, there's all sorts of hidden cool details about the ways your playable character moves and interacts, such as the attention to detail and sound, like the clinking on Billy's chains, the clacking of boots on a hard surface, or the swishing of stockings when brushing against one another. For some reason. Someone at MiHoYo thought this was a crucial detail to include, so why not? I knew I didn't have to stray far from Goon Lagoon, because the fan service in Z3 is impeccable. I probably don't need to include all the ways the game lures you in with all the gooning elements, though it's interesting to see that when the game launched, you didn't really get the impression that it was going down this route. Okay, well, what are we adding next? Cock physics? Gameplay feels extremely smooth and satisfying. The enemy tells are telegraphed, the swapping mechanic feels engaging, and it always feels badass pulling off counters repeatedly. Of course, I was surprised to find that there's actually a limit on how many times you can counter in a row, and certain attacks that have to be dodged instead. I didn't really get into the optimal team rotations and such, but playing through the main story campaigns and some side activities gave me a very taste of what all the agents play like. Whether you play this for the exhilarating gameplay or the cunning, I think something everyone will see eye to eye on is that the overall quality of the game times you can counter in a row, and certain attacks that have to be dodged instead. I didn't really get into the optimal team rotations and such, but playing through the main story campaigns and some side activities gave me a very taste of what all the agents play like. Whether you play this for the exhilarating gameplay or the cunning, I think something everyone will see eye to eye on is that
I saw it. That's what they meant.
the overall quality of the game is great. Also, just a side note, I learned that the names of the siblings in Japanese are Akira and Rin. Just thought that was interesting to point out. So let's move on to the live service nature of the game and explore how that's all going. I played the game for about a month and locked in the $5 welkin just for the hell of it. For the record, one of the old traps I used to fall into is that I felt obligated to log in every day so I didn't waste up the daily check-ins. Now I just kinda don't care. I didn't log in all 30 days of the month, and a decent chunk of the days I did log in just included me doing the dailies. Sometimes I didn't even bother spending stamina. Something these games have always ingrained in me when I played Genshin all the way back in 2021 was that if I didn't complete every side objective, event, or weekly missions, I'd be falling behind. While this seems like such an obvious trap in hindsight, I think there's a reason why these systems work to retain players. Looking at the aspects that I needed to upgrade for an agent to reach their max potential, of course you'll have the Ascensions and the W engines as they're called in this game as weapons. The passive abilities and the skills that use different currencies, and I knew those 6 empty spots would be filled with something. Sure enough, that's where the discs or the RNG relics come in. A general sentiment is that Z3 has the tamest relic system out of all of the big 3 MiHoYo games. Though even then, it's something that a lot of gachas don't have to deal with to this extent. I thought, what the hell, let's try building this team to see what I need to have a viable comp. I was going to get an energy regen piece on Sokaku, except when it was time to start sorting out my discs, I realized that I didn't have a single one with that main stat. It was the only main stat that I didn't even have one of. So I thought maybe I did something wrong. I then proceeded to spend 1,000 reserve stamina to farm for any energy regen main stat disc. But then, still nothing. Then I looked at the internal drop rates of the stats and realized that it's because the game is working exactly as intended. For a little bit of clarification, how the RNG relics work in all of the modern MiHoYo games is that there's a hidden chance for a certain main stat to drop if that slot has multiple possibilities. And it's rigged so that the most helpful ones by default are the ones that have the lowest drop chance. In this case, energy regen gets the special treatment, dropping at just below a 10% chance. Obviously, for any long-term gacha players, I think everyone innately understands that character builds are not meant to be completed in a single day. So building even one character is a long-term commitment. Still, you tend to see some other gachas opting for a more tame RNG relic system, and a few out there that just don't have any at all. I'm gonna take a wild guess that MiHoYo's next gacha game will have the tamest RNG relics yet, as there does seem to be some pushback against this kind of system. I doubt anyone wants to constantly grind for the chance of a useful relic. The disc is not the only place to grind for character builds, as there's also the boss drops and weekly special boss drops. Z3 does let you configure a farming plan, letting you spend 100 stamina at once on whatever drop you want. But this does not get extended to the boss drops nor the discs. So back to endgame artifact jail I go. In all fairness, Z3's dailies are some of the easiest I've seen in a gacha game to complete, and you can visit the coffee robot for a bit extra stamina every day. There's also the scratch cards that give the occasional gacha tokens, and the ramen guy that gives out temporary buffs. But nobody cares about the ramen guy. Still, doing less chores doesn't mean that there aren't any chores. There's still Shiyu Defense that rotates on a schedule, a roguelike mode to accumulate weekly points and rewards, and all those red exclamation marks to warn you of unclaimed rewards or limited time events. These systems are hard-baked into any gacha game, and being one of the pioneers of modern gacha design, MiHoYo lays everything out pretty blatantly. I personally have a lot of problems when people compare a gacha game to a console game. I think it's fair to say that the animations are console-level quality, except that there are some stark contrasts between the design philosophy of games such as Z3 to something like God of War or Devil May Cry. A gacha game will forever be a gacha game. You'll sometimes hear people say something along the lines of, "This game is so good it could pass off as a console game. It's a video game first, gacha game second." Wow. Allow me to show you what that argument actually means. So I did. I played Zenless Zone Zero as a console game. In a typical console or single-player video game, you pay an upfront fee to get the game, then you can play it whenever and however you want. The campaign has a defined beginning, middle, and end. But here's the crucial bit. When you finish the game, you're done and are free to move on to other games. It doesn't need to drag on and try to retain you for the long term. There are many other creative fun games out there. Enjoy variety. In any case, you have total control over your game and can play it however you like. More importantly, quitting or stopping to play said game isn't even a bad thing. You just completed the full experience, so now it's time to enjoy another. So during my month of playtime, I set a goal for myself, a win condition. A condition that if I reach it, that's where I will get a lot of closure on my adventures in Eridu City, and move on to other games. I stopped caring about doing dailies and spending stamina.
Oh, my mic
I didn't
is
pay
on.
attention to any upcoming banners or events. Just ignore all those red exclamation marks. My goal became very simple. For the next couple weeks, log in whenever I feel like it, enjoy the high-quality animations and voice work in the main story, do some side content if I have time, and when I complete all of Season 1 story content, that's what I consider my win condition. Suddenly, I don't need to care about the shitty RNG disc system. I don't need to feel pressured about limited time events or banners. I don't need to worry about losing 50-50 coin flips or grinding to level up my agents. I can simply take my time doing a few missions a day, maybe dabble in the archived events section, or invite out characters to increase bond. If you look at its roots, I think we all need a reminder on why Genshin Impact was such a landmark achievement in mobile gaming history. You could make a compelling argument that the game is not your usual typical mobile game slop. Yes, there's battle passes, limited time events, and timed rewards. Except you technically didn't have to spend a dime. The gameplay is actually engaging, and you can go at your own pace in exploring the world and going through the story. Just like any other genre of games, gacha games can be enjoyed in your own way. I don't know about you, but I find that the most fun I can have in any video game is when I can play it on my own terms. This obviously doesn't just apply to Z3, but I'd argue that MiHoYo was the one that pioneered and kickstarted a lot of the modern gacha practices we see today, so I might as well use them as an example. Suddenly, you do get to see what the best of the game has to offer, and leave out the most tedious and monotonous portions. I think people tend to equate quitting a gacha game as something negative, either due to the game not being good enough or a lack of motivation to continue. If you look at it a different way, I think there's a lot of value and power in quitting. It doesn't have to be framed as a negative thing. When you play on your own terms, even the most predatory practices won't phase your enjoyment of a gacha game. Again, I don't care how much time or money you spend, the point is that there is a way to play these games without being sunk into its live service model. Going through the archived events tab and some of the current events is when you realize that if you only play the curated content with a lot of effort put into it, a lot of the game's strongest elements shine through. When I played, there was a summer event where the new agent Yuzuha was on banner. I was originally going to pull, but then I realized that you also need to level her in a usable W engine, and then grind the living hell out of discs and passive upgrades. And then I thought, well, back to playing the archived events. And look, I know Z3 appeals extremely well to the gooners, except if I want a goon, I'll just look up the material online on certain discreet websites. And you won't even need to grind anything except your meat. No one can tell you how you should be having fun in a video game. I think it's fair for everyone to enjoy something in their own way. For the record, during the month I played, I had a fantastic time. Something I think that's much needed when deciding to move on or take a break from a live service game is the need for closure. So this is an allegory that I come up with. I spent $5 to see the show that is Z3. The show lasted for a month, and now I'm leaving the theater with a wide smile on my face. I visited the sites of New Eridu City, got introduced to some great characters, took in the excellent world building and attention to detail, and even felt a little emotional when the game actually dropped some bits of lore. Damn, that was a good show. And now, it's time to enjoy other great video games. By eluding the experience of playing a gacha game to seeing a live show, you can kinda trick yourself into thinking that every second or dime you spent on said game was not wasted at all. If, for example, you decide to return for another round of the show in the future, you can do that. In fact, I'll probably do that the next time I want to dive deeper into Z3's main campaign. In case you haven't been around the channel for long, this is the same logic I mentioned in a previous video, and now I'm applying the same logic to my own experience. The truth is that Zenless Zone Zero is a much higher budget gacha game than the vast majority out there on the market. It's absolutely true that you can technically apply my logic to any video game in existence, though there's a reason I picked Z3. Aside from personal interest, everything from its presentation to its overall quality is a way bigger spectacle in comparison to the overall market. And if you strip away the predatory portions, it absolutely could be described as a console-level experience. There's not many gachas out there where you can argue this. I should be glad that MiHoYo separates story content and challenge content, because if they didn't give trial characters to complete the campaign with, I'd be forced to engage with the live service elements to level up what I had. You know, I've thought about this for a while, and only now did I realize MiHoYo was the one that started this whole trend with character dupes giving whole new passives instead of a stat upgrade from Genshin and onwards. And now a lot of games are doing exactly the same thing. Isn't that interesting? I'm a firm believer that gacha and live service elements take away from what could have been a solid game, and my main criteria on which gacha games are the best are the ones that take away from the experience the least. And MiHoYo is one of the worst offenders out there. Z3 has the typical MiHoYo progression systems with level-gated progression, the now iconic 50% rate-up system, the same RNG relics, in my opinion a pretty shallow roguelike mode, and the endgame mode Shield Defense, giving favoritism to the current on-rate-up 5-star to slightly nudge you to pull. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and I can talk for hours about what I call the Genshitification of gacha games, but I like to leave off the video on a more positive note. I suppose this video was more of a discussion rather than an actual review of the game, but hopefully I was able to present a more optimistic view on gacha games and the idea of quitting them. At the bottom of it all, I believe all gacha games are predatory in